While this young man was happily strolling with his best friend, suddenly he collapsed face first to the ground without tripping over anything. Before losing consciousness, his soul flew out of his body, accompanied by the panicked calls of his friend, while his weak soul was being pulled down as if being sucked into a bottomless abyss. When he woke up, it was a shock to find himself in hell, surrounded by the desolate landscape of cracked earth and dry bones scattered everywhere. He was horrified, unsure if this was a dream or reality in this eerie hell. He had to witness monsters tearing each other apart, the strong and brutal eliminating the weak. That was the law here. Hiding behind a rock, watching two monsters embracing fiercely, he wondered how he ended up in this hellish place. 10 days passed, and his stomach was growling from hunger. There were no days or nights here, nor any sunlight, and the only thing he could eat was rotten flesh. As the monsters left him alone, he sat down gnawing on a piece of its bone while chewing the meat, trying not to let himself vomit. To survive in this hellish place. While he was too focused on eating, he didn't notice a huge shadow looming behind him, ready to attack. The giant green monster raised its claws towards him, causing him to jump and fall forward. He quickly grabbed a rock the size of a bowl and threw it straight at the monster. The foul-smelling rock hit its head, causing it to yelp in pain and turn to flee, leaving him in tears at the sight of himself fighting back. A longing for home surged within him. On the 39th day in hell, he was fiercely smashing the teeth of a demon with a stick, hitting it repeatedly while thinking he couldn't afford to die. Then he would send all these monsters to meet their maker. With a fierce vitality, he was no longer human. His primal side took over, erasing all traces of humanity on the 51st day in hell. While lighting a fire in a skeleton, he ensured food safety by eating cooked meat from demons. He had to eat to survive, no matter how disgusting it was. Lost in thought about countless things, a leveling system suddenly appeared announcing he had leveled up to level 3, leaving him confused about what was happening. But after being here for so long, he wasn't too surprised by such strange occurrences. Without hesitation, he decided to press the confirm button. Time flew by like a dog running in the fields, and 7 years passed during which he leveled up to 24. Now he could defeat ordinary monsters with just one hand, making them unrecognizable to facial recognition. In his 24th year, he crafted a sword. From the stones he took from the Iron Dragon Knight on the 51st year, he decapitated a small beast from the divine race, and on the last day of the 79th year, finally he encountered the one who dragged him down to this godforsaken place. He had waited for this day. The day he met the demon god who ruined his beautiful youth, turning it into a time spent among the stinking corpses with smoke and fire everywhere and dead beasts lying around. Body parts were scattered everywhere. Many monster corpses were torn apart, lying on the ground. The appearance of these things was thanks to the one swinging a sword like crazy in the midst of the demons. That was him daring to attack the gatekeeper of the demon god in hell was unacceptable. The red two-horned demon roared, wielding a sword, leaping forward to cut off his limbs, then threw his gigantic sword at the monsters, slicing straight into him. Fortunately, with his muscular body, he managed to block that attack with his top-quality sword, creating a sound that echoed throughout hell. He proudly told the demon to quickly open the gate to avoid further attacks, and it wouldn't have to hear the annoying song. Hearing this, the demon became even angrier. It emitted a blinding light that erased all the darkness around here, accompanied by a loud curse from that arrogant dog. The demon swung its sword, causing the barrier to be pushed back quite a distance. Not wanting to be defeated, he tried to use his feet to stop the demon, which claimed he was the one who would die today. Not it, because in just a moment, it would throw him down to the hell of hell. That was quite interesting, but he wasn't quite satisfied yet. He charged straight up with his premium sword while the demon also prepared its attacking stance. Due to its massive size, the monster became clumsy while he, agile and flexible, spun around and severed the demon's arm. After that, he conveniently used the demon's belly as a springboard. To leap forward as he landed like a hero in a martial arts film, its arm also landed beside him, and flames gathered into a ball. A skull appeared, expressing frustration, saying, "That brutal bastard, you just go ahead and destroy its mouth. It only has one head, yet you go and chop off its arm." The demon bared its foul-smelling teeth to speak. "Do you dare to challenge the servant of the demon god? Aren't you afraid of the consequences? Today you will pay for insulting the demon god," it said, drool spilling from its mouth continuously, and as it roared loudly, it suddenly had to pause for about 3 seconds. And unexpectedly, it had been pierced by a large hole created by his sword. He didn't understand when the sword had been thrown, and it was stuck in the ground. Oh my God, why not spar a little more to create a drama that could last into the century? They had only met for a few minutes, yet the demon was already spewing dirty saliva with a force of 1,000. This made him frown because everything was too noisy. Out of anger, he caused the demon to have a punctured lung, and the giant demon helplessly fell after a loud thud onto the ground. The skull showed concern. If the gatekeeper died, that demon god wouldn't let it go, so it urged him to finish off the demon. So did they support each other well? But he had already anticipated the disturbance to the demon god. It wasn't that he wasn't afraid of guns, but he completely didn't care about the skull asking him if he was going to confront the demon god. Because he wanted to take over this place too. But that was not what he wanted. It had been 80 years since he came to hell, and he had to fight many types of monsters to survive. Because of that, he held a deep grudge. All of them had different stories and reasons for coming to this hell. That's why he had one question. Why was he in hell? And why did the demon god kidnap his father here? This was something he really wanted to ask when he met that despicable demon god. The skull, seeing him seemingly joyful, reminded him, "Now you pray over there. Bow your head down and ask for forgiveness. After that, if you want to ask anything, go ahead." This script is quite gentle and emotional, so he wasn't satisfied at all. He wanted the demon god to pay. That was the price for dragging him down to hell, the price for making him endure suffering for the past 80 years. That price had to be paid with a life. He withdrew his sword, standing in front of the demon god's castle, charging in like a mad dog craving an answer. He didn't know how he ended up lying in a hospital getting an IV. He was confused and surprised looking at the IV bag. It had been a long time since he felt a dream about the context of Earth, and 30 years had passed. His face was extremely gaunt. His body couldn't move. In a dream with a concept of a person in a plant version, he was struggling to control his body when suddenly he heard something fall to the ground. The metal tray fell from the hands of the woman in the pink dress, and she looked at him in shock, unable to speak. He looked back, not knowing who she was, but she knew him very well. To be more precise, Dung was her son, who had been in a vegetative state for many years and was now waking up, which made her extremely emotional. In contrast, Dung did not like this situation at all. The scene of seeing the loved one wake up in the hospital and hugging and kissing made him shiver with disgust. It was just too cheesy. Can I stay in a vegetative state instead? But the truth was he couldn't wake up from this dream. Moreover, Dung felt that the dream was a bit too real. From the sounds to the images, everything was strangely vivid. He calmly recalled everything that had just happened. At that moment, he was rampaging in the demon castle, causing destruction with demonic corpses scattered along the path. While he was busy marveling, Dung could only breathe and didn't pay much attention because he was busy fighting, which drained a lot of his energy. Dung stood up and looked straight at the headless demon. He arrogantly said to that cowardly demon, "That guy pretended to talk to me, and while I was distracted, he attacked me. The answer to that was that I chopped off his head and then his body was cut in half." According to logic, Dung would now become the master of hell, the absolute ruler. He sighed because he didn't care much about that position. Suddenly, the system displayed an option asking if he wanted to return to Earth. Seeing this, he stood still motionless as he had the chance to return to Earth after 80 years since he fell into hell. It turned out the system had this option too. But he had to defeat the boss first before it would let him go back. Why didn't they mention that from the start? To make him suffer for so many years. The demon's skull asked him if Earth was where he lived before coming to hell after struggling for 80 years. No. Every day he prayed to escape from hell, so he had no reason to linger in this crazy place. Dung immediately agreed to return to Earth. A dazzling white light appeared, shining directly on his face and enveloping him. Once again, he found himself lying in a hospital. The doctor was conducting a physical examination on him. This was truly no longer a dream. The doctor happily informed his mother that after being in a vegetative state for a long time, moving immediately would be quite difficult. However, there was no need to worry. With regular rehabilitation treatment, he would improve. Dung's mother, upon hearing this, was overjoyed and teary-eyed, taking his hand and thanking the doctor. Meanwhile, he seemed dissatisfied with the current joyful atmosphere, gaping like he was in shock and gasping for air. Flailing like a fish out of water was this dream real. It was the moment he discovered the message. Or was it now? The children looked so scared that they tightly shut their eyes, and the doctor tried to reassure them. But Dung gritted his teeth and cursed, "Don't come near me." Suddenly, he bit the doctor's hand, causing him to turn red in the face. He didn't realize that his wild actions were either a curse or a toxin that paralyzed him. Sung reassured himself that this was just a terrible nightmare, releasing the doctor's hand to focus on breaking free, as if he was trying to escape from something. He even fell to the floor but continued to struggle as if he were overdosing on drugs, shouting loudly, "How have I lived until now? I have fought for 80 years, yet now you tell me to obediently die. I have prayed and prayed, even at the moment I fell on the cold ground of hell. No, I absolutely cannot just leave like this. Please let me go back." Soon, 2 strong male nurses came to lift him up. He couldn't believe that he had awakened after conquering hell with a broken body. Only the brain and the beak are still functioning. While struggling intensely, his eye caught something incredibly terrifying, which was a glaring yellow electric pit amidst the looming black clouds, so much so that he forgot about farming. Thanks to that, 2 nurses easily lifted him onto the bed. The electric pit loomed above the tall buildings, releasing countless dust particles, wondering how it ended up here. After staring for a moment, he continued his combo of farming and cursing wildly. The 2 nurses had to try their best to hold him down to inject a sedative so he would lie still and stop talking so much. The hospital felt like a mental institution. He gradually lost consciousness but still tried to curse one last time before completely falling asleep, sleeping straight through until the news broadcast at around 9 o'clock this morning. In Songba district, Seoul has discovered a strange portal. Fortunately, the hunting team responsible for the nearby area quickly arrived at the scene. The hunting team at the ruined site was currently reporting the situation. The suppression has been completed and is in the final stages. According to the current situation of the hunting team, they should be able to withdraw within an hour. The current team leader is on the phone. The fruit's in the hospital and directing via phone to subordinates to report back to me immediately after the incident is over. I will handle the remaining part, so please finish well. Inside the room, he was still listening to the news. Thanks to the quick and timely response of the hunting team, the portal had been destroyed. He was still lying there thinking about the electric pit. The portal and the hunting team did not expect that after 80 years in hell, the world above had changed so much. While busy thinking, the team leader of the hunting team came to visit him, confused about who this person was and why they seemed so familiar after many years of being immobile. It seemed like his eyes needed to be washed again to recognize who this was. Chan-ho heard him say his name and rushed over to ask, "Are you okay? It has been 10 years since you collapsed and fell into a coma." He may not remember his best friend, but he clearly remembers the day of their high school graduation 10 years ago. While walking down the street with his best friend, he felt dizzy and finally collapsed on the ground since that day. For 10 long years, he had to lie in that hospital room. The time he endured in hell was 80 years, but in reality it was only 10 years. During that time, his mother had struggled a lot to cover the expenses. His mother had to work 2 to 3 jobs a day because now he was the family's breadwinner, so Chan-ho hoped he would recover soon and promised to find him a suitable job. He said he understood, but his expression seemed a bit down. It seemed like he had a lot on his mind that afternoon when his mother was pushing his wheelchair to let him go outside for some fresh air. While walking, he thought about how he had to fight for survival in hell, but in reality, his family always had to bear the suffering. Caring for him was beyond their ability because this body could not move as he wished, and not only that, it created a burden and trouble for others. Reality was as cruel as hell. At that moment, his mother was startled to see 2 creditors coming to demand money. Among them was a fat person and a thin person, but they shared the common trait of being very rude. The fat one immediately said, "Why can't I contact your aunt? Is she not planning to pay back the money she borrowed from us?" The thin one added, "If she says she will postpone it to another day and then disappears again, it will be the end for us." His mother immediately panicked and begged to postpone until next month, promising to pay back the money. The skinny guy continued saying that he would postpone until another day, and if he disappeared again, it would be the end for us. His mother immediately became frightened and requested to postpone until next month, promising to return the money then. But after promising again, the money still hasn't shown up. Mother Sung immediately approached the fat guy, asking for a little more time, but he forcefully shoved her hand away, baring his teeth and yelling, "What the hell do you think you're doing, you bastard?" If you have the guts to borrow money from others, you should also have the awareness to pay them back. Do you think you can get away with this? Do you think we're a bunch of fools? Ignoring her cries and pleas, the fat guy quickly rolled up his sleeves and punched Mother Sung in the mouth. Instead of rushing in to take the hit for her, he could only sit still in the car. Watching his mother get beaten, he suddenly screamed at those damn pests. This successfully attracted their attention, but instead of scaring them, it only provided them with entertainment, making them laugh as they continued to provoke him. "You two worthless pieces of shit are even less than the pig dung out there." Hearing this, Mother Dasung was shocked and tried to stop her disrespectful son, but the fat guy rushed in and grabbed him by the neck. Lifting him up high, he yelled for him to bark again. Mother Dasung kept explaining to the two thugs that her son was still young and didn't know anything. He was still a patient. "Please let him have a chance to live. It's not easy to provoke their bloodlust and get off so quickly." The fat guy claimed that all the money she borrowed was for him. While he was in his grasp, the boy still spoke provocatively, making the fat guy not hesitate to reply, "Is your brain still not awake? Or have you forgotten how to use your brain after lying down for so long?" And if Dasung had the heart, he would let the boy open his eyes wide to see how those pests would beat him for what he just said. The fat guy tossed Dasung around like a trash bag, then moved in to punch him a few times. All he could do was try to cover his head while the fat guy's huge foot kicked him repeatedly in the stomach, causing him immense pain. Dasung cursed silently in his head. If this body wasn't crippled, this fat worm wouldn't stand a chance. Unfortunately, the reality was that he was completely lying, still taking the hits. Seeing her son getting beaten, Mother cried and pleaded. If this was hell, that fat guy would have been torn to pieces by him already. A notification appeared in the system. "A mission has appeared. Do you accept this mission? If you refuse, you will not receive compensation." Unexpectedly, the mission appeared so suddenly. This could be his only hope right now. A status window unexpectedly appeared, but it also raised a brief suspicion. That status window was the only thing that had helped Dasung. After surviving 80 years in hell, something strange happened. His vision seemed to lose color while the fat guy stood still, unmoving. What the hell is happening here? Everyone is standing still as if time has stopped. Could this be because he accepted the mission? Is that why everything has turned out like this? Suddenly, the system sent a mission to restore his body with the lowest difficulty. It required him to move to the designated target point within 1 hour. The reward was a supreme recovery elixir that would increase his physical condition by 10%. Dasung still didn't understand what physical condition was. It was something that could help him regain a bit of strength. 10 meters away, a red arrow appeared marking the designated destination. Although the distance was short for a crippled person like him, it felt like 1,000 miles. Wanting to recover quickly, Dasung used both hands to drag his heavy body across the ground of hell. He wasn't afraid of this little thing. But with a snail's pace, it was really difficult for Dasung to get there. The system displayed the remaining time 17 minutes and 46 seconds. Clearly, this was not something that could be overcome by willpower. He told himself to stay calm and think. The system has never given an impossible task. This task is no different. So you need to reconsider each word in the task list carefully. After some contemplation, Dasung realized the crux of the issue. Dasung used his trembling hand to reach for the handle of the wheelchair while time was ticking away. With only 35 seconds left, he gathered all his remaining strength and inner power to climb onto the wheelchair. The time ticked down to 15 seconds as he rushed toward the finish line with all his might, racing against the clock in the final moments. The situation became increasingly urgent with only 6 seconds remaining. As the wheelchair sped on in the last 2 seconds, he used all his strength to crash into the red arrow, causing it to shatter into 100 pieces. Finally, he completed the task just before time ran out. In the final second, gasping for breath, a red vial appeared before him. The system introduced it as a supreme recovery elixir that could improve and restore his current condition. Sitting in the wheelchair, he gulped down the entire bottle. As soon as the potion slid down his throat, he felt its effects. All pain seemed to vanish. Dasung felt as if a surge of power was flowing through his body. Was this the effect of the elixir? At this moment, everything returned to normal. His disappearance surprised both his mother and the thugs. The fat guy looked around confused about where Dasung was. Suddenly, 2 security guards rushed over, sternly asking what he was doing there. His mother worriedly ran toward him while the thug was bewildered, not understanding how he had managed to escape. The skinny guy advised the fat one to let them off the hook this time. Today it seemed like both he and his mother were lucky. As night fell, lying in the hospital bed, his mind was filled with countless thoughts about how the status window had appeared at that moment. He had tried to summon the status window several times before, but since there was no response, he had given up. He needed to quickly return his body to normal before the thugs came back, and to do that, he needed to complete the task. But the problem was that he couldn't summon the status window. Suddenly, a voice echoed saying that the Pantheon was waiting for the absolute being. He didn't understand where the sound had come from. His body floated and transitioned into another multidimensional space. The special thing here was that his legs, which seemed to be paralyzed, could gently touch down. Before he could gather more information, the system informed him that he was in the Temple of the Gods, and the deities had acknowledged the diary of the absolute being. The system required him to complete it in a realistic manner. After all, this was just a dream, so he just needed to follow what the system requested. He smiled confidently and began to carry out the assigned task. A recovery mission appeared with low difficulty, requiring him to eliminate the designated target, with the reward being a memory chip for the absolute being. Along with restoring 30% of the essence, suddenly a demon head with super long fangs popped out. He took a deep breath to gather his energy and immediately punched straight into its head. The demon's head exploded in an instant. Then the third body recovery mission appeared with the lowest difficulty, requiring him to run 10 kilometers, with the reward being a nutrient supplement for the absolute being. Dung began to run like mad, sweating profusely. The fifth mission continued to appear, requiring him to do 1,000 push-ups. The reward was the same as the previous mission. The completion rate had only reached half. The numerous recovery tasks were gradually exhausting Dung's stamina. He had been working hard on the tasks for the past 10 days. Now he had only achieved 45%, and the reward was just a nutrient supplement. At this rate, when would he ever complete it? Frustrated with these tasks, he hoped the system could create something more substantial. In response to his wish, the system sent a new recovery mission with low difficulty, requiring him to fight the green demon. And the reward is similar to the previous mission. The completion rate has only reached half, and the numerous recovery missions have gradually drained Dung's stamina. He has been working tirelessly for the past 10 days. And now he has only achieved 45%, while the reward is just a tonic. At this rate, when will he ever complete it? He was too frustrated with these missions. He hoped the system could create something better to meet his desires. The system then sent him a new recovery mission with a low difficulty level, requiring him to fight a green demon. There is no time limit, and the reward is a medium nutrient supplement that increases recovery by 10%. Hearing this name, you feel a sense of familiarity, and suddenly a series of lightning bolts strike down. Then a beam of blue light shoots straight down to the ground from within that light. A giant monster with gradually glowing red eyes appears, making you immediately recognize your old enemy from hell, who almost defeated you back then. The monster appears with a massive body and sharp teeth, completely overpowering you with a fierce roar as it meets an old friend after a long time. It swings its arm, gathering strength to strike at you, and you barely manage to block it. If this continues, sooner or later it will beat you so badly that your parents won't recognize you before being sent far away. You jump high to face the Demon Queen, clenching your fists tightly, preparing to unleash a powerful punch. But unfortunately, you fall right into the monster's attack range, and it slams you hard into the ground, treating you like a toy to be beaten up. You drag your painful body, even spitting out blood, but you still struggle to get up, determined not to give up. Seeing this, the monster goes wild, barking that you're tough and crazy, roaring loudly. It delivers a direct punch downwards, but you manage to dodge to the side just in time. The monster continuously unleashes a barrage of attacks, and it's only then that you remember how the Demon Queen fought when you were in hell and how you fought her. You also recall how she grabbed you and suddenly spread her hand, tearing it apart into several pieces. You land safely with your sword, forgetting that you can summon the Holy Sword, saying that both of you charge at each other like wild beasts. Damn it, I will send you to hell. The system announces the mission completion. The current execution rate with the gem body is 55%. The sky gradually brightens, and in the hospital a hand gently opens the window. Welcoming the dawn light, it wakes your mother. She hasn't fully woken up, rubbing her eyes, not knowing who the figure in front of her is. Suddenly, her eyes widen in surprise when she realizes it's her son. Before long, it's time for the hospital work. You have been assisted by a nurse to check your motor functions, and you easily perform all of that. In front of your mother and the doctor, your mother immediately turns to ask the doctor clearly. The last check said that recovery would take 6 months. How is this possible? It's only been 15 days, and now you can move like a normal person. The doctor has nothing to say because the patient's condition defies all theories. What medical science can explain this? Hearing this, your mother starts to worry. Could it be that her son is something else? The doctor reassures her, saying he has characteristics different from awakened individuals, so she doesn't need to worry. Just hearing this makes your mother feel much more relieved. While being massaged by the nurse, you suddenly get angry and tell him not to do that, causing the nurse to panic and quickly apologize. Your mother sees her son yelling at someone and doesn't intervene, feeling lucky that you are now much more comfortable. Moving or exercising your limbs is no problem at all. You need to regain your original body as soon as possible. While going outside for a bit, you see your mother happily thanking a nurse for taking care of you for the past 10 years. But she thinks that her sacrifice during that time is what truly matters. Your mother is crying tears of joy and happiness, and you can't imagine what hardship she has endured. Seeing those tears makes you want to protect her even more. You quickly sneak into the restroom, but not to relieve yourself, rather to access the divine temple. The system confirms and transports you to the requested location. You wish to accelerate your recovery progress through major missions to meet the system's requirements, allowing you to comfortably choose the difficulty level. No matter what this time, you will finish it. In one go, you choose the difficulty of this mission to be hell. As soon as you finish speaking, a gigantic sphere appears, starting to crack into pieces and shatter. At this moment, a sword and a tall, muscular young man appear. You don't pay much attention to this unexpected presence. He wanted to speed up the recovery process through major missions to meet the system's requirements, allowing him to comfortably choose the difficulty level. No matter what this time, he would finish it. In just one attempt, he chose the difficulty of this mission to be hell. As soon as he finished speaking, a gigantic orb appeared and began to crack into pieces before shattering. At that moment, a tall and muscular young man appeared, seemingly indifferent to this unexpected presence. Suddenly, the guy smiled wickedly and looked at him, panicking upon seeing the name in front of him. No different from him, the system then sent a notification to fight the target in front of him, who was a doppelganger, and to win. The two silently stared at each other, and Dung summoned his hot weapons, looking at the guy with disdain, not allowing him to breathe another word. The doppelganger rushed in like crazy, startling Dung. He swung his sword to strike while the doppelganger jumped high to dodge the blow. As he slashed down, Dung quickly parried the attack. With incredible strength, he was pushed back far away while the doppelganger landed softly on the ground. Just a few seconds of carelessness almost cost him his life. Before Dung could catch his breath, the doppelganger charged in, attacking relentlessly. They fought fiercely with the doppelganger, continuously slashing at Dung's arms and legs. He could barely withstand the strength and speed of that guy. The longer it dragged on, the more disadvantageous it became. Suddenly, a hand slammed directly into his chest, sending him flying hundreds of meters back. This was the price for underestimating the enemy. At that moment, he was busy flickering in the white smoke, gripping his sword tightly, coughing as he said that at this point, one could say the fake was even dumber than the real one. I am not satisfied because after all today you will not escape from me. Dung used demonic blood, transforming into a bloodthirsty demon. The doppelganger was also beginning to sense something. He charged in to attack first, thinking he could split Dung in half, but Dung appeared beside him out of nowhere, pressing his head down to the ground and raising his sword to slash down. But unexpectedly, he quickly dodged this deadly blow and retreated. Not to be outdone, Dung also used demonic blood to fight with the two demons charging at each other in a fierce battle. Equal in strength, Dung urged him to hurry up and die so he wouldn't have to waste energy. Suddenly, he appeared from nowhere, stabbing Dung in the shoulder with his sword. Not only that, he also intended to deliver another blow right to the top of Dung's head. Due to the pain, Dung was logged out of the virtual world, while outside the cleaning lady was anxiously banging on the door. Outside, he stood dazed, while inside the situation was overwhelming for him. If he lost here, all his previous efforts would be in vain. He racked his brain for ways to defeat him in reality. The cleaning lady almost unlocked the door, but was called up to the third floor to work returning to the virtual world. He summoned the storage and reached in to search for something. He sent him a message saying that this mission is not over yet. Dung pulled out a vial of elixir, which is the reward received upon completing a mission. This is an item in the storage, but now it is something he desperately needs. The system notified him that this tonic could help him recover 20% of his stamina and endurance. If it's 20%, you only need to drink 5 vials to be able to fight him, seeing that he rushed in to stop you from taking the medicine, but of course, Dung wouldn't let that happen. After drinking 1 vial of the elixir, he felt his strength returning. He continued to reach into the storage area and pulled out a few more vials. He wouldn't prolong the time any longer. He just wanted to boost his strength to 100% as quickly as possible. Drinking 2 vials, he dodged a straight kick to the face, and after drinking 3 vials, he quickly summoned his sword to block his attack, and then the last 2 vials were consumed. While they were fighting wildly, Dung was grabbed by the neck. He intended to deliver a fatal blow to your stomach, but unexpectedly you summoned the storage. At that moment, his sword only pierced into an illusory space, while your sword had already pierced through his stomach. Before he knew it, he was gradually fading away, and the mission was accomplished. The system reported that your body had fully recovered and you could use the Hell system right in the real world. Dung felt that regaining his strength was an incredible thing. The countless scars appeared reminding Dung of the days spent in Hell. The system notified him of unread messages. Dung pressed confirm and dozens of messages appeared. They were all letters wishing for help from the ruler of Hell. He had struggled and fought for 80 years to survive against them, only to simply become a leader. Dung raised his middle finger to curse and ordered the system to take him out of there. Back in the hospital room, he was doing push-ups with one hand gently exercising while lost in thought, just as his mother and the doctor opened the door. Seeing this scene, they were stunned, only daring to stand outside. The doctor remarked that it seemed like your son is an awakened one. The mother immediately became worried, but before that, the boy showed no signs of being awakened at all, he said. From my guess, it wasn't that there were no signs of awakening, but rather there was no other way to explain this awakening. We can only do this much. As for the rest, you should go meet the association. The mother was extremely worried, but since the doctor had said that she didn't know what else to say, he and his mother were sitting in a taxi. But in his mind, he was still thinking about the association and the awakened one. He had shown that he didn't care about it just because he was on a mission. It seemed like his mother was trying to hide something. What on earth has happened to the world over the past 10 years? Before long, the taxi brought the two of them home. His house was a small one located on a hill. His mother told him to go inside first while she went next door to chat a bit. Stepping into the house, he saw someone reaching into the drawer to get money. Dung looked at the girl in front of him, not recognizing who she was at that moment. His mother walked in and asked what he wanted to eat so she could prepare it. His mother turned to the little girl with the bun on her head and said, "Jisoo, where have you been these past few days? You didn't even answer your phone. Do you know how worried your mother has been?" She looked at the 20,000 won in her child's hand, causing the girl to not know what to say but quickly hide the money and walk past the two of them. Dung was extremely confused. Even if he hadn't seen her for 80 years, how could he not recognize his only little sister? Jisoo, with a thoughtful expression, said to her brother, "You seem to be doing better now." "But every day for us is hell," she said and walked away, causing their mother to call out with great concern. Just then, a group of thugs arrived, banging on the door, loudly startling both him and his mother inside the house. It was the skinny guy from yesterday. He was outside yelling, "If you don't come out in 3 seconds, we will break in." Everyone stood silently in the yard, unsure whether to open the door. And here, Sung inside the house was starting to feel his blood boil. The skinny guy continued to kick the door, ignoring the family not coming out. He added a combo of curses. "Damn it, why didn't you open the door sooner? You think that just because you took that brat out of the hospital, I won't find you?" Jisoo was determined to step outside, making her mother anxiously call her back. While busy kicking the door, the fat guy asked, "Is this the right house? What if that woman has run away?" At that moment, Jisoo suddenly opened the door and stepped outside, cursing the thugs like crazy, causing the two of them to just stand there staring at her retreating figure. The skinny guy deduced that she seemed to be the daughter of this family. The fat guy watched her back and smirked. When they realized it, she hurriedly apologized for taking her son out of the hospital without contacting them first. "Right now, this is all I have. You guys take this for now." Before he could finish, he shoved her wallet away. Witnessing this, Dung yelled from the side while the thug was cursing at his mother for having no manners. When he saw his mother being physically assaulted in the face, he began to feel a surge of rage and hit the skinny guy, causing a mix of blood and teeth. Just then, the fat guy walked in. Seeing this scene, he rushed over to ask about his companion's well-being and said, "I've wanted to meet you guys for a long time, but you guys just brought yourselves here." The fat guy stood up and asked, "Aren't you the bastard who couldn't move back then? Had to sit in a wheelchair, huh? You should feel lucky that your mother had to run around for you. Borrowing money everywhere, he said to Dasung while getting closer to him, "Do you know what I've been through to survive in hell?" Saying that, he tightly gripped the fat guy's mouth and slapped him hard in the face, causing him to spit blood. He wanted to repay this debt 100-fold, but after just a few slaps, the guy collapsed. On the ground, the fat guy looked towards the wooden chair over there. He approached, grabbed the chair, and used it to attack Dasung, but it was no luck at all. With one hand, Dasung punched through the wooden chair and hit him straight in the face, making him fall flat on the ground. The skinny guy, seeing this, pulled out a knife from his side and waved it around. "I know martial arts," he said as Dasung approached to grab the wrist he used to hit his mother. Dasung gently twisted his arm, causing the skinny guy to scream in pain like a pig being slaughtered. The fat guy behind said, "Do you think I'm going to let you go unscathed after doing this to us?" Dasung hardly cared about that threat. He moved closer, lifted his chin, and said, "So do you have any other way?" "But how?" "Now I'm going to send you off for a bit and then peel the skin off your face." His mother, sitting behind, yelled for her son to stop, and at that moment the two thugs fell over. Before losing a few more teeth, they rushed into the car parked above. The fat guy asked the skinny guy about Dasung, and the skinny guy said, "His body seems to be much stronger than before." They didn't understand why a vegetable person had changed so quickly and grown so much after 10 years. The director of the debt collection company had demanded they get a commitment from them to give up their bodies. The fat guy thought that wasn't the issue. The issue now was how to take him down. Dasung saw Jisoo walking outside with a dazed expression. The fat guy ordered to stop the car to do something. At this moment, at Dasung's house, his mother recounted how she had sold the house and transferred the shop to get him into the hospital, thinking that would make him wake up. But in the end, even the deposit for the rental house was all gone. A friend had introduced his mother to a place to borrow money from 3 loan sharks. But then the debt became unbearable. Not just the principal, but the interest was also increasing. Dasung immediately asked, "Is Jisoo still a student? Why is she working so often?" His mother, with tears in her eyes, said, "Last year, because I was injured while working, she had to drop out and work at a restaurant. She said she could help out on her own. For her little sister's family, it's been very hard. During the day, she goes to the gas station, and at night she goes to the convenience store." He reproached his mother for not stopping her and letting her go to school. His mother had done that, but Jisoo had to work to take care of her brother in the hospital, yet he never saw any progress. A few months ago, something had happened. Suddenly, she left home. His mother advised her son not to do anything foolish because they were a family. Dasung, hearing that, fell silent, not knowing what to say. Suddenly, his mother's phone was vibrating. It was a call from the thugs from earlier. "You asked your mother to give you the phone so you could talk to them, and suddenly your face was filled with anger as you cursed at them as if something serious had happened." The car of the 2 thugs had entered the center of the city, and Jisoo was being gagged and tied up by them. The fat guy told Daesung over the phone that you had mistakenly hit his mouth. "You'd better behave properly. We can make you earn 100 million a day and contact me again. I think your ability to earn like that shouldn't be too hard, right? If you want your sister to be safe, you'd better not mess with us." Hearing Jisoo's voice and the fat guy's challenge made Dasung furious. Extremely angry, your mother saw this and immediately knew something was wrong. You turned to her and said you would go out for a bit and come back later. She made you promise not to get into any dangerous situations. If you end up in jail for intentionally harming or injuring someone, I won't be able to live. Now you realize that you can't solve everything on Earth like you could in hell. Suddenly, a system notification appeared, making you freeze in place. Seeing this, your mother felt worried, but you turned back to comfort her. "Nothing will happen. Go somewhere else." Only then did you dare to check the notification, which was a reward for unlocking basic skills once with 4 skills: poison skill, invisibility skill, hellfire skill, and soul summoning. After thinking for a moment, you realized that among the 4 skills, nothing could compare to this one. With this skill, in a certain boarding house, the thugs were taking Jisoo inside and were bringing her up the elevator. Suddenly, some lightning struck in the elevator, but the fat guy didn't care much. Then suddenly, someone popped up from below with a ghostly appearance. It was Dasung. You asked him, "Didn't you want money?" "I'm here to give you money." Earlier, you had chosen the dark soul summoning skill, and a green flame appeared in your hand before transforming into a small stream of black water dripping to the ground. Creating a large circle, you tore a bloody piece of the fat guy's shirt and threw it into the black hole, commanding them to follow the blood of that guy and show you the way. That's why you could appear here. The skinny guy swung his hand to punch you, but Dasung quickly dodged the blow. You grabbed his face and punched him, causing him to foam at the mouth while the fat guy stood cowering in the corner. He asked you if you were the awakened one. Dasung didn't understand what the awakened one was. Just then, the elevator opened and the fat guy ran out, calling his buddies. You guys come out and receive the goods. He's the awakened one. Let's charge at him together. Not giving him a chance to escape, you struck him on the back of the neck, causing the fat guy to slam his face into the ground. At that moment, his underlings rushed in with weapons, but you easily dodged every attack they made and retaliated continuously, leaving them unable to react. After dealing with them, you stepped into the elevator and told Jisoo, who was sitting there in a daze. You kindly asked her, untied her hands and mouth, and told her to go home first. She worried about what her brother would do. Dasung turned back to comfort his sister. Your brother will handle everything. It will be fine. The lights in the corridor were still on, and on the ground lay a group of unconscious people sprawled out. Dasung quietly stepped up the stairs. With his hands in his pockets, he calmly walked up, seeing some thugs smoking, and he sighed about having to eliminate a few more snakes. Just a simple sentence like that. To provoke those guys into a frenzy, he had to resort to violence. A window of the black social headquarters shattered into pieces. Meanwhile, in another place, a phone rang. The tattooed guy picked up the phone, and as soon as he heard, he became furious and started cursing. I told you not to call while I was at the sauna. The trembling underlings replied, Boss, come to the office right away. The furious boss made the guy next to him scared to death. Which dog dares to come to my place and cause trouble? Only a few stammered words were left, and they quickly hung up. He angrily crushed the red iPhone, his face clearly showing rage. At that moment at the headquarters, the glass was shattered and bodies lay scattered, blocking the way. In another room, you found another guy who was extremely scared, trembling all over. Suddenly, a loud explosion rang out, accompanied by thick smoke. In another room, he found another guy who was extremely scared, his whole body trembling like a leaf. Suddenly, a loud explosion rang out, accompanied by thick smoke. You jumped and turned your head to see a tall, muscular guy charging at you, placing his large hand right on your face and pressing hard against the ground. The thug looked at you with disdain. Are you crazy, kid? Thinking back when you used your strength, neither your mom nor Jisoo seemed surprised by it. Is it because they are used to the existence of people with powers like this? Because you were busy grinding to recover your stamina, you hadn't had the chance to find out what was happening in the real world, but to take down this big guy with just a snap of your fingers. However, the thug was no pushover, so he quickly realized and stepped back, noticing that you were not an ordinary person. You stood up, brushed off the dust from your clothes, and asked the thug, Are you also one of the awakened ones they talked about? The thug smirked wickedly. Now it's useless for you to regret. Because I will send you to hell. Upon hearing the word hell, you immediately glared at him, gathering your strength in your hand and delivering a punch right to his face. Surprisingly, with just one hit, he flew back and slammed into the wall. He couldn't understand why he was taken down so easily, and he couldn't accept that. You walked over, kicked him right in the face, and said, While I was away, you guys continuously bothered my family. At this moment, the thug realized you were also an awakened one, but at a different level. First, he just wanted to keep his life begging weakly, Please spare me. If you want money, I will give you everything. At this point, you finally stopped and asked, Where's the money? He pointed to the safe in the cabinet while you walked towards it. The thug hurriedly fled from there. He saw there was still one of his underlings sitting there, so he chased him away. In the parking garage, the thug was sitting in the car, annoyed, cursing, What the hell is that? Just wait. I will come back and destroy your whole family. You suddenly appeared behind him, whispering in his ear, I just remembered I forgot one thing, the safe's password. You grabbed his head with your devilish hands and warned him. The important thing is that later, no matter where you are, I can always find you. At this moment, you were on the rooftop transferring all the money from the safe. A total of 532 million won. Seeing this amount of money, you immediately thought about buying a house in Seoul. With so much money, you didn't know what to do. You immediately entered a phone store to spend. The salesperson enthusiastically introduced, This is the latest phone model at a special price of only 2.99 million won. Seeing your curiosity about the masculine pink phone, the salesperson had to say right away, This is especially loved by women, so I'm giving you a deep discount. Hearing about women made you seem thoughtful. The salesperson inflated the price, which was cheaper than before, so you quickly decided to buy. A crappy phone was being pushed at a steal price, yet you still spent a huge amount of money. You requested both phones, and the salesperson was overjoyed. Truly a god of fortune, the sound of his thanks echoed out onto the street. At this point, you had returned home. You placed the phone bag on the table. Your sister's voice called out, "Come eat, dear." But when you opened the door, you didn't understand how your son had vanished so quickly. In the evening, the street lights were on, and you were dressed up at a restaurant for grilled pork ribs and pork belly, waving to Tran Ho, who was waiting. It evaporated so quickly. In the evening, the street was lit up, and Dasung was gearing up at a restaurant for grilled pork ribs and pork belly, waving to call Chan Ho, who was sitting and waiting. Tran Ho raised his glass and praised you for having changed a lot since the hospital. Your close buddy asked if you had any plans for the future yet. Seeing you seem indifferent, Tran Ho said, "We are no longer those naive high school students. You suddenly asked your friend with 500 million how many floors of an apartment can we buy." He was extremely surprised and then rambled on about how with 500 million won, you could rent a small apartment in the suburbs of Seoul if you wanted to buy there. You need to have 1 to 2 billion won before you should even think about it. The world has changed a lot since you fell. Don't rush to down that bitter drink. Chan Ho has heard his mother talk about the awakened ones since he woke up, and he has only heard people say they are awakened. Seeing that, Chan Ho exclaimed, "Oh my, you don't even know." After a while, the two went outside the restaurant puffing on cigarettes. Chan Ho said about some time after you fell. Suddenly, a strange portal appeared. At first, bizarre phenomena occurred in several countries, but humanity managed to control it. However, shortly after, many monsters crawled out of that portal. They were numerous and aggressive, starting to attack humans. Despite using many different advanced weapons, humanity's weapons were ineffective against them. They increasingly suffered heavy losses both mentally and materially, making Dung wonder if even guns and cannons were useless. Chan Ho gently exhaled smoke and replied that all conventional weapons were ineffective. That's what I learned during that time. Only aura weapons made from those monsters could be used. And only those who could use aura weapons were the awakened ones. Chan Ho pointed seriously at Dung and said, "Just like you." He looked at his phone, pretending to show off his new expensive phone. Seeing that Chan Ho asked about the new phone, and he eagerly introduced it. "This is the hot hit model right now," he bragged. Chan Ho looked at him like a fool who had been tricked, saying he heard that this was recently being sold for free along with another phone. "Don't tell me you're going to spend money on this crap," he said, his face turning red with anger, standing there in silence. But his friend kept teasing him, returning to the topic of monsters. Now, if you don't use aura weapons, using aura to enhance your body is also a characteristic of the awakened. Your body suddenly can recover so quickly. Not only that, but you also knock down the tall, tattooed gangster. Dung exhaled a greenish breath, saying, "If I were awakened, would you give me money?" Hearing him ask that, Chan Ho was stunned, and Dung casually turned to ask about Chan Ho's monthly income. Perhaps due to the sensitive question, a large whirlwind suddenly appeared in the sky. The two immediately went on high alert, watching closely as they saw the demons crawling out of the portal. The people panicked and screamed as the monsters poured down onto the streets. They stepped onto this pavement, causing the road to crack under the weight of thousands of pounds. The monsters stomped down the road, causing the people to panic and gradually retreat. A leading monster raised its club and bared its teeth, and the others followed suit like machines. At this moment, everyone regained their senses, screaming and running in chaos. One of the two was panicking, while the other had a face as tense as a snapped string, not understanding. Staring at the demons, he suddenly realized their ugliness. They looked much cuter than the ones from hell. Dung stomped his foot and picked up a stone, tossing it up and down. He wanted to see what these little demons were capable of. He swung his arm back to gain momentum. Then he threw the stone forward, and to Chan Ho's astonishment, the stone was thrown, but couldn't hit the demons. It turned out they had raised a protective barrier. Feeling a gaze captivated by his beauty, it turned around with a rather annoyed expression. Chan Ho panicked and said guns or cannons are ineffective against them, but he didn't care and focused on the front. The ugly legs of a demon were quickly rushing towards the two standing there, swinging its club with a roar that shook the sky. Seeing that Chan Ho was terrified and shut his eyes tight, suddenly a spray of blood splattered onto his face, making him curious enough to open his eyes and look in shock, realizing that the blood was from the monster. It had been knocked down by Dung with a swift punch, leaving Chan Ho both scared and amazed, unable to believe that his friend could knock out a monster. He had been swiftly knocked down by Dasung with a quick punch, both scared and surprised, causing Chan Ho's face to contort in disbelief that his friend could knock someone out. A demon as big as a giant is unarmed. Right after that, the green-skinned monsters behind saw their comrade fall and immediately rushed towards the two, prompting Chan-ho to quickly leap forward. He threw a punch right in the monster's face, and just a few seconds later, its head flew off. Chan-ho was even more astonished. This power could only belong to those awakened at level B or higher. But he had to return to the main issue because the terrified citizens were huddled together. This was a bustling neighborhood filled with many shops in Seoul. The fearful chatter of the citizens created a loud noise that attracted the attention of the demons, who saw the green-skinned monsters gathering more and more in front of the panicking crowd. Shivering at the thought of being next, the crowd knew they were destined to meet their ancestors soon. Just in time, Chan-ho appeared like a savior to reassure everyone. "I know a way to the shelter through the drainage system here. If you want to live, follow me, but run fast to escape the sunlight." The green-skinned demons had already formed a pile. Blocking the escape route of the crowd, an aggressive demon wielding a weapon stomped forward, causing the crowd to panic and scatter, leaving a little girl crying in fear, calling for her mother. The demons grew increasingly aggressive, rushing forward, creating a chaotic situation. The little girl remained frozen in place while the green-skinned demon stood right in front of her. Seeing the demon about to strike the girl, Chan-ho rushed in just in time to pull her away from the scythe of death. Before he could do anything else, the demon unexpectedly got hit and lost all its teeth. Dung rushed in like a savior, kneeing the demon's head away. Chan-ho saw his friend still acting like he did back in the day, always meddling in others' affairs. Dung urged Chan-ho to run away quickly, while he would stay behind to block these foolish demons. Seeing his friend sacrifice himself for him, Chan-ho smiled confidently and immediately called for everyone to gather and move to the drainage system inside the barbecue restaurant. A phone attached to the pod was live-streaming the battle with the monsters, and the comments were continuously positive, marveling at the impressive fighting skills. The restaurant staff panicked, shouting from behind, "Behind you! Take advantage of their numbers!" The demons relentlessly launched deadly blows, leaving Chan-ho no time to react. Dung was knocked back towards a car, and the staff member gaped, thinking the hero was done for. The online community was abuzz, with fans commenting wildly as Chan-ho remained in a slumped position, showing no signs of life inside the drainage tunnel where the group was hiding. A mother cried out upon seeing her little daughter Ha embrace her in a touching scene. Chan-ho felt warm inside for having done another good deed. His brother turned to ask Chan-ho if he still intended to go back there. The question pulled him back to reality as he remembered his friend Dung was still there. At this moment, the curious demons approached to see if he was dead yet. A calf, as thick as a pillar, was moving closer to him, the demon looking down with sharp eyes and laughing like a fool while the restaurant staff continued to play the commentator. Very enthusiastically, the audience kept commenting during the live stream outside as the demon raised its staff, aiming straight for Chan-ho's neck and swinging down hard, making the staff member who was filming scared. He had to cover his eyes with his hands, not daring to look after the fierce blow. Dust flew everywhere, but it suddenly stopped as it realized something was off. It had only smashed into the car. The person had vanished without a trace. It was surprised to turn around and see the one who should have been gasping for breath about to die was instead launching a powerful strike that decapitated one of its comrades. Scenes like those from a Hollywood movie made the staff member extremely excited, commenting fervently. Thanks to defeating the monsters, Chan-ho had absorbed quite a bit of magical power, so now he would not feel any pain. In response to the demon's intentions, he would return both the principal and the interest. Dung took a leap smoothly, taking off the heads of the nearby monsters. His movements were too fast. It's hard to catch on a live stream with a phone like that. Those important moments made netizens immediately spend big money, with 5 million won if the staff member could capture it. To see such a large sum of money, the guy's eyes lit up and his mind raced to think of a way to approach that area. To use his hands to fight against a horde of demons, he gradually exhausted quite a bit of magic power to quickly take them all down. He gathered his strength and delivered a blow to the demon's chin, sending his body flying, capturing that scene on camera. The smoothie bonus immediately added 5 million won on the condition that if he captured a clearer face, he would get even more a message from an anonymous whisper saying he would give him more money. If you could tell me more specifically about that man's identity. The waiter was both happy and worried when he saw the messages popping up continuously, but remained determined not to go outside the HMC account. The bonus of 20 million won exciting the fans. With an offer that couldn't be more attractive, capturing a clear face, providing some basic information, would earn him 40 million won, which left the waiter stunned. Eyes wide and mouth agape, he looked at the phone screen. At the same time, in the HM building, the computer screen was broadcasting the waiter's live stream along with the chatter of the staff. When he saw the YouTuber on the other side making a new move, the staff member smiled with satisfaction, saying our group would also go to the area where the incident occurred so he could join us. Although he had been a scout for a long time, this was the first time he felt that way. To use his feet on the demon's body, coldly looking at the remaining demons, suddenly one demon was struck with a powerful blow, causing its eyes to bulge out with blood. By a tall, strong demon smashing a huge weapon onto its own kind, the waiter was lurking behind a car to film because he couldn't afford to miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The demons kept coming, and his magic power was gradually running out. Now he could only pray to the Lord above to get through this ordeal. While he was busy live streaming, Chan-ho popped his head out from behind and whispered, "What are you doing?" Causing him to panic and drop his iPhone. Chan-ho immediately activated his brainwashing technique, cursing the fool until he could only stand there with his mouth agape. The phone fell and lay exposed on the ground, making viewers think the live stream was under attack. Chan-ho dragged the waiter back toward the building in front, but his pleading eyes. This guy still stubbornly looked back at the phone, his heart aching, tears streaming down in pity for the huge sum of money that had vanished. Suddenly, a foot as big as a pillar appeared in front of the two, causing the waiter to fearfully foam at the mouth and faint. The demon was raising its club to smash down when it was suddenly decapitated in a matter of seconds. Chan-ho narrowly escaped death, quickly looking towards the demon that had just flown in, immediately recognizing Dung, his friend, standing on a pile of corpses. Moments later, the two, along with the staff member, had dragged each other into a barbecue restaurant to take temporary refuge. Dung immediately said, "I have somewhere to go. It will take about 20 minutes. Can you wait?" To reassure his friend, Chan-ho immediately mentioned the gang that was about to arrive to rescue everyone. The system announced that he had completed 100% of the progress. Killing in the real world, from now on, you are allowed to enter the temple with your body in reality, while being able to use all items in the temple in the real world. Dung clicked to agree, and in an instant, a teleportation portal appeared before Chan-ho's astonished eyes, not understanding what this kid really was. Dung quickly stepped into the spatial door to go to the temple. His body was injured after fighting all night with those monsters. He needed to immediately ask the system to assess his current magic power status. The system reported that his magic power was currently below 10%, and he also asked the system how to increase it. He immediately had to rely on the system to assess his current magical power status. The system reported that the current magical power rate was below 10%, and he also asked the system how to increase it. The fastest force can respond immediately. His logbook systematization only requires completing the task at the designated location within the allowed time to receive the appropriate reward. Isn't the logbook something you wrote every day when you were in hell? This is to avoid going insane. The status window reappears and asks if you want to systematize the logbook. You quickly agree, and just as you finish speaking, a red-covered logbook appears preparing the systematization process. A massive surge of energy instantly bursts forth from the logbook. It makes the surrounding air feel suffocating. The system reports that it has begun to depict a series of memories flooding back like a tidal wave in your mind. Suddenly, the logbook bursts into flames, indicating that the depiction process is complete, even though your head is pounding you. Then request the system to take you to the Predator's Forest on page 16 at a time when you could use magic power. The system immediately recreates the 75th day of the 5th year. You step into a thick fog, returning to the barbecue restaurant in the real world, Chan-ho leading the waiter running frantically up the stairs. As he runs, he wonders if this guy knows anything about the one who just fought those monsters. His curiosity is unbearable. He wants to extract more information from Dung. Chan-ho, with a cold expression, turns back and glares at him, concerned about you like that. Just wanting to make money, right? The guy can only keep quiet. Suddenly, a noise from above startles both of them, worrying whether there are still survivors on the rooftop. While walking down the street, Chan-ho receives a message from the guild leader. Since it's the weekend, the guild's movements are a bit slow, so he should quickly move away from that place. Chan-ho grows more anxious, just hoping Dung will return quickly. Dung is now standing in a desolate place filled with hazy smoke. The system announces it has recreated the Predator's Forest. However, it cannot display information about the corresponding location due to spatial restrictions. The unusual silence of this place makes you extremely vigilant. The mission to collect items has a medium difficulty level. You are required to eliminate the celestial beings invading this place within 1 hour. The target to achieve is 10 large white statues with a reward of a 30% increase in magic, and an additional 2,000 achievement points. The system just disappeared when a strange creature faintly appeared in the mist, easily detecting the intrusion of an outsider. It immediately activates the defense mode, attacking you with laser beams. Dung dodges all its laser beams at lightning speed and suddenly halts in front of the monster, which has a large and tall body. With a red cross on its face, head and shoulders that looks like wings, the system reports detecting the white statue standing upright, classified as a robotic organism. Hearing that you take a closer look at what is called a celestial being. While lost in thought, the robot immediately launches an attack using sharp claws like drill tips to stab straight down, but of course it misses to save time. Dung channels his luck into his hand, rushing up to punch the robot squarely in the face, delivering a forceful blow that shatters half of its mask into dust. Caught off guard, the monster stumbles and falls backward. You gently approach thinking you've taken down the monster, but its fingers suddenly move and then extend, shooting off. Dung charges straight into the center where the long, dangling fingers are. Gritting his teeth, he channels all his strength into a punch, and immediately the robot explodes, its parts falling down. Dust and debris fly up, obscuring everything in white. You quickly escape from that cloud of dust, and from within it, a red orb unexpectedly appears. It catches Dung's attention, returning to the barbecue restaurant in the real world. Chan-ho is carefully opening a door, and the two step out onto the rooftop, seeing corpses lying everywhere. This situation is clearly not good. The two stand still, intently looking at the scattered bodies on the ground where a wounded man is sitting against the wall. Seeing this, the two rush like mad towards the man. Chan-ho hurriedly asks, "Bro, are you okay? Are you okay?" He just slumps down, mumbling for you to go away. But you can't hear what he's saying clearly. He has to use his last breath to make Chan-ho understand that behind him is an extremely large source of killing, intent a huge green demon. The waiter urges Chan-ho to move quickly. He keeps glancing back, whispering curses. "Don't move until I tell you to." The waiter also mumbles, "What the hell are you saying?" Then he turns his head back, his eyes wide with horror as he sees the demon staring directly at them. The serving name's face changed color, causing Chan-ho to sit beside him and remind him to stay alert. "Whenever I signal, you must run straight to the door. If you don't want to die here, you need to be alert." The green monster above suddenly screamed loudly to intimidate and then jumped down. Chan-ho shouted, "Run now, we're in the predator's forest!" The red sphere had expanded into a gigantic size, while Dung cautiously observed the sphere rising high, beginning to regenerate. Dung frowned in anger as if wanting to curse. The regeneration progress of the sphere had reached 10%. The target attack model analysis was completed and the ability feature was upgraded. He shot off like lightning. Taking a deep breath, he swung his fist and struck the sphere with immense force, causing it to generate a lot of electricity. He then performed a stunning backflip. He landed gently on the sphere and the regeneration progress only dropped to 3%. He was feeling annoyed with this troublesome thing. So he focused his strength and punched down on the sphere, causing its regeneration speed to surge to 40%. The destructive force shattered the surface of the sphere and the progress increased to 55%. The cracks widened further, increasing to 65%. The system continuously reported errors due to the overload from the rising speed, and the regeneration rate had climbed to 70%. He delivered a fierce punch and countless lasers shot out, singeing his sleeves. A group of robots was lurking in the mist. When he turned to look, he found himself in their line of sight. A barrage of lasers suddenly fired from the robots, continuously flying toward him, intertwining to form a laser net. Only 5% remained for the sphere to complete its regeneration. The regeneration process had reached 98%. The red sphere produced an explosive sound that shook the ground violently, throwing him hundreds of meters away. If this continues, it won't end well. He thought he should find another plan and recall the memories that had been etched in his mind. He was trying to revisit his past memories to defeat the robots. But his head throbbed painfully as he struggled to remember the intense pain preventing Dung from concentrating. His eyes suddenly lit up. His strength had also increased significantly compared to before. In the real world, Chan Ho and the serving name were running for their lives from the relentless attacks of the demon. The green-skinned demon was furious, growling as it watched someone swiftly pass by. It didn't want to let the two escape, so it frantically chased after them. Chan Ho and the serving name barely managed to press themselves against the door when the demon reached out with its massive hand. With a powerful slam onto the ground, the serving name hurriedly dove forward to dodge the blow. Both were exhausted, panting heavily while the demon's arm had been retracted. But it wanted to leave a special mark, so it clawed at the floor. Luckily, both managed to escape a close call. Chan Ho gasped, "Let's get down quickly." The situation now was that Dung was fiercely battling the robots. They moved sluggishly, but he quickly darted around their claws. With his agile body, he also avoided the robots' attacks. Just a little more effort, and he could complete this mission. He easily leaped like a squirrel, kicking hard against the tree trunk. He jumped up quickly to survey the surroundings and rushed forward like a madman while the robots were hot on his heels. But Dung was determined to run. Suddenly, he slammed his foot down to stop and turned back. The robots were still crawling along the ground like lost souls, forming a line that gradually became clearer. They locked onto their target and activated their aim, preparing to attack. Unfazed, he defiantly raised his middle finger at the fools behind him, wearing a sinister smile. Humiliated to the extreme, the robots continued to chase him, but the ground began to shake violently and they remained oblivious. Dung had just reminded them that this was the predator's forest. Suddenly, a gigantic mouth with sharp teeth emerged from the ground, swallowing the robots whole. After a hearty meal, the monster began to sink back into the earth. The eating habits of this swamp whale remained unchanged. He happily hoped that the robots would have happy days in the whale's belly as it could digest anything. The system immediately notified him that he had met the conditions to reset his physical abilities. A surge of abundant energy quickly enveloped Dung's entire body. The eating habits of this swamp whale remained the same. He happily hoped that the robots would have happy days in the whale's belly as it could digest anything. The system immediately notified him that he had met the conditions to reset his physical abilities. A surge of abundant energy quickly enveloped Dung's entire body. Many magical forces have surged, and the system continues to send rewards, which is a weakness of the judges, and a short dagger immediately appears, making him gasp in awe. Some information about the item is provided. This is called the Judgment Dagger, classified as a weapon. It is a sacred artifact that judges often use to deal with enemies. Made from the skin of a golem monster, it can control the dagger within a maximum radius of 100 meters. The higher the magical power, the stronger the might, referring to the remote control feature. He immediately threw the dagger, and it flew 100 meters before abruptly changing direction and returning to Dung's hand. He felt quite satisfied with this new weapon. As he let his hand drop, it naturally disappeared. Engrossed in fighting, he forgot about the appointment with Chan Ho, and the teleportation gate was immediately opened. It brought him back to the real world, where a news broadcast was live streaming under the guidance of a male editor, announcing that a crack believed to be a gateway to the sky had appeared, causing the entire area near Nangok District to become chaotic. A similar incident had previously occurred in Daegu District. The editor then asked for the professor's opinion. The guest regarding this incident stated that the greatest responsibility lies with the person in charge of this area. Specifically, the Hunter Association, which is currently short on manpower, has hunters taking time off for holidays, causing delays in relief efforts. How can the people trust them? This stagnation has been occurring continuously, especially recently. Even on weekends and holidays, the associations must bear full responsibility for this incident. During the broadcast, a car was speeding down the road. The person inside was also watching the news and angrily cursed, "Those two guys must be insane. What do the hunters in the association earn compared to those gangsters? They are not prophets or spies to be blamed. We are extremely annoyed, and the guy next to us keeps rambling." The team leader irritably said not to complain anymore if they don't handle this incident properly. This team is also determined. Because the team leader, who is me, will be fired? Suddenly, a new live broadcast began. Currently, we are in Nangok District, where a mysterious hunter has appeared and has fought, saving thousands of people in this place. Unable to believe it, both decided to head straight to Nangok District that night. At the barbecue restaurant, thoughts of the corpses on the rooftop made the waiters shudder with goosebumps. Chan Ho also felt scared like him, but there was no way to get out of here other than sitting and waiting. Waiting for the rescue team to arrive, suddenly a loud noise startled both of them, and they quickly poked their heads over the table to look outside. The waiter hurriedly said, "Could this be the sound of the hunter team's vehicle?" But staring outside for a long time, they only saw the lights in the restaurant shaking. There was no further movement. Chan-ho frowned, full of vigilance and suspicion. I wonder if that is the hunter team. It is not the hunter team, but a familiar person that made both of them open their eyes wide with joy. Who else but Daesung, covered in blood? He was also clutching his stomach in pain, worried that his friend was seriously injured, but he was panting and turned to call the waiter, who jumped in fright, thinking he had done something terrible. It turned out Daesung only asked for a fire to grill meat. Hearing this, both the waiter and Chan-ho could only be silent, not expecting that in this situation. He still had the mood to eat. Chan-ho shouted loudly, "Can't you see that corpse?" What eating at this time? Did those demons hit you until you were stupid? Inside the restaurant, there were pieces of flesh from a demon, and even a piece of pork was stained with the blood of those monsters. Daesung squinted, looking, but saw nothing wrong. You just stuffed it into your mouth, chewing messily amidst the disgust of the two guys. Suddenly, a pair of black boots stepped in as the fully armed soldier next to the demon's corpse asked if everyone was okay. As soon as he saw him, the waiter joyfully exclaimed that he had been saved. The soldier's gaze turned to where Daesung was sitting eating meat, quite surprised that a civilian could remain so calm. Afraid that people would ask about his friend, Tran-ho jumped in to greet the comrade, expressing how hard it must be for them to work late at night, then patted Daesung's shoulder. Explaining that this guy was just in shock, so his actions were a bit unusual, he hoped the soldier would understand and let Tran-ho hug him from behind, saying that this crazy guy needed to be taken to the hospital. He's about to go crazy. The soldier's expression turned serious, not allowing them to leave. Tran-ho flashed a confident smile, reached into his jacket, and pulled out a business card that read, "Captain of the #1 business team of the Sun Gang," saying if there were any issues they could contact him through this. The soldier awkwardly apologized and offered to lead everyone outside. Indeed, the power of someone in authority made everything smoother. Outside, the soldiers were busy checking the area. But all they saw were the corpses of the demons lying everywhere. The captain, just getting out of the car, was stunned by the scene before him while Nick Ga was retching violently. Next to the car, the captain was silently assessing and pondering the one responsible for this, who was even more brutal and powerful than those monsters. Chan-ho was now speeding down the street in his car, suggesting they swing by his place to sleep. However, he was also worried, saying he was very concerned about everyone at home. Seeing someone as careless as him still thinking about family made Chan-ho feel satisfied, but returning home looking like a lost soul would surely worry his mother. Noticing he smelled a bit bad, he decided to stop by Chan-ho's place to clean up. Chan-ho's apartment was in a luxurious high-rise building. As soon as he stepped inside, he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Chan-ho instructed him to order chicken for later, and soon a table full of chicken was set up because he noticed his friend was craving meat earlier. So Chan-ho proactively invited his friend to a lavish meal. However, eating was put aside as Daesung suddenly brought up the idea of becoming a hunter to earn big money. Right. Remembering their conversation at the restaurant, Chan-ho replied, "Of course. But not everyone is lucky enough to earn money. There are plenty of scammers out there, as people around often say." Saying that, Chan-ho looked at him expectantly and asked if he wanted to become a demon hunter. Daesung only gave a brief response, still busy stuffing chicken into his mouth. Seeing his friend had potential, he suggested they go to the association to register. The recruitment requirement is at least level B. Chan-ho was sure that his friend's current level was definitely A. Daesung, hearing about levels B and A, had no idea what that meant. With a confused expression like a child, Chan-ho quickly explained that those are the rankings of hunters' abilities. If you are a level B hunter, you can join a large gang or become a member of the association. No matter where you are, the monthly income is only 3,001, but if you reach level A, the conditions will be better. Hearing that, Daesung started sucking his fingers and asked if there was no rank higher than A. Chan-ho said there is, which is level S, but currently only 5 out of 2 million awakened people have reached it. Tran-ho picked up a piece of chicken and scoffed, asking if he planned to become the 6th awakened person of level S. He should just give up and be a normal person instead of dreaming about that. Just reaching level A would be satisfying enough. In the Republic of Korea, just reaching level A is enough. Just achieving rank A is enough. It's enough to live comfortably for several generations. Chan-ho sees his friend quite serious about the decision to become a hunter, so he immediately supports him with a toast, wishing his brother smooth sailing. After all, Daesung has been a hunter for a long time. In some building. In a luxurious room, someone is using a knife and fork to cut a piece of steak next to a file of information about Daesung, the long-haired guy, while eating and saying this guy is a debtor who has gone crazy. While eating and listening, you just keep talking about the name that has caused our organization such chaos. The punk scared quickly replied, "Yes, sir." The long-haired guy wiped his dark lips with a napkin and said, "You seem a bit slow. You must have had a hard time surviving, huh? Why did you run away back then and then come here to get reprimanded?" The stubborn punk stammered, unable to utter a word. The long-haired guy placed a hand on his shoulder, making him tremble, saying it was because he had nowhere else to go. The long-haired guy with a scar across his face is Lee Seo-yu, the leader of the Red Ghost Gang. Even that crazy punk had the guts to report to the police. A strong killing intent surrounded him. "Why are you trembling like a leaf?" that guy asked. Could it be because of that punk? Lisa turned her gaze to the right, where the punk's boss was lying in a pool of blood, his body missing an arm and his ribcage exposed, a sight that was horrifying. Seeing such a scene, the punk became even more terrified. He begged his boss to spare his life. Lee Seo-yu's hand moved from his shoulder to his bald head, suddenly leaning down and coldly whispering, "Even if the office is destroyed, the money in the safe will still be there. Yet now it has vanished." The punk had no idea what was happening. He begged for a way to live his face expressionless, and then he suddenly accepted. He agreed to trust his words, but not even a second later, the punk's head suddenly exploded like fireworks, blood splattering all over Lee Seo-yu's cold face. Ignoring the headless corpse that was bleeding, Lee Seo-yu ordered his subordinates to clean up. The next day at the Korean Hunter Association, Daesung casually stood in front of the building with his hands in his pockets. Chan-ho crawled out of the car saying, "You need to find the staff at the lobby and tell them you're here to check your awakening ability, then someone will come to guide you." Daesung had already walked quite a distance. Chan-ho still called after him to remind him not to forget to use honorifics and not to speak bluntly to others or they would think you're crazy. "You better shout out loud. After you're done, remember to text me the results, okay?" The lousy friend Daesung confidently walked towards the building where many people had also come to certify their awakening. Just as Chan-ho said, it might be the money that brought these people here in droves. This made him feel quite annoyed. In testing room number 3, Daesung and other candidates were sitting and waiting for a long time, and he was unlucky to draw number 9. No idea how long he would have to wait. He suddenly received a message from his mother, who thought he was still at Chan-ho's house, asking when he would be home. Today, his mother had a backache, so she took a day off from work. He still didn't want to tell her about registering to become a hunter and had no intention of letting her know about this. So he had to lie that he was at Chan-ho's house and would be home soon. A few seconds later, his mother replied that if he hadn't had lunch yet, he should come home to eat with his younger sister, who had just bought some hangover soup for him. He also wanted to finish quickly and head home. At this moment, the secretary stepped out to call number 9. Finally, he could go inside for the test. Before he even entered, he heard a man's shouting echoing out. "What the hell do you mean I'm not an awakened person?" His disruptive actions made the staff extremely uncomfortable, only explaining that the device did not detect anything, and he immediately shouted, "I've told you several times already." The crowd waiting outside began to feel annoyed after waiting so long, especially encountering a crazy person throwing a fit. He pointed at his bald head under the bright light, saying, "My hair has fallen out like this, and I'm not awakened." The staff member fell silent while the secretary and the candidates outside burst into laughter, feeling a bit anxious as his mother was still waiting to buy some hangover remedy at home. He was still threatening that if the staff did not handle the situation properly, he would file a complaint with the branch manager when suddenly a hand was placed on his bald head, making him angrily turn around to curse the bastard who dared. Turning around, he saw the source of the intense killing intent like a demon, and he fearfully pressed his lips together, not daring to show his teeth, quickly explaining that it was due to a problem with the machine. "I am clearly awakened," he said coldly, looking at him. "Are you sure the measuring device is broken?" At that moment, an awakened staff member approached, suggesting he try it himself, and walked straight towards the machine, placing his hand on the sphere, causing it to emit several electric sparks. The machine began the testing process, and the sphere suddenly turned green, indicating a level C awakened person, meaning the machine had been functioning normally all along. And even very well, he was confused and speechless. Taking advantage of that moment, the secretary quickly sent him off, causing him to leave in frustration. Finally, the mess was resolved. The secretary apologized and invited him inside for the test. She then turned to chat with her colleague, but was promptly tapped on the head and told to focus on her work. Remembering his terrifying aura just now, she was sure this guy was an awakened person at least level B or higher at the headquarters of the Korean Hunter Association. In the branch office, the phone was ringing loudly. The man in the suit answered, and the voice on the other end said urgently, "Branch manager, you need to go down to testing room number 3 on the 6th floor." He asked back, "What's going on?" But the other person insisted that the boss should come down here. "It's better to see it with your own eyes." He quickly entered the elevator, thinking, could there be an awakened person of level S among those being tested? But he immediately realized he was being delusional. If there were an awakened person, the investigation team would be scrambling at the 6th floor where the candidates were in chaos. "Who is that guy? This is the first time we've seen such a case." The commotion made the branch manager hurriedly weave through the crowd to enter the testing room. He was startled wide-eyed when he saw the crystal sphere shattered into pieces. The level C awakened brother was hastily coming out, his face pale, glancing at him while explaining that when he placed his hand on it, the crystal sphere changed color. Continuously mixing 7 rainbow colors, the sphere now looked completely different from before, causing him to doubt whether this thing was usable. The staff member beside him could only awkwardly laugh, saying, "Well, it occasionally has some technical glitches," when suddenly a loud crack echoed and the surface of the sphere abruptly cracked, making the staff member panic. Suddenly, an explosion rang out and smoke billowed from somewhere, startling the candidates in the hallway. Inside the testing room, the smoke was so thick that even though the secretary had covered her nose, she was still coughing violently. He stood dumbfounded in front of the ability testing machine while the staff member was horrified, rolling on the ground. Seeing him standing still like a statue, he thought he was too scared and hurriedly asked, "Are you okay?" After hearing the situation, the branch manager was also at a loss. He believed this happened due to a malfunction of the testing machine. But all 3 crystal spheres were the same. How could it be that all 3 coincidentally malfunctioned at the same time? Seeing the 2 whispering to each other, he was confused, wondering if they were planning to demand compensation. "What should I do now? Do I need to retest?" The branch manager thought that if he continued to let him test like this, what if the measuring device broke again? He would have to pay out of his own pocket to replace it after some calculations. He suddenly turned to ask you if you are Dung, right? This is the first time we have to do this. So perhaps we need to make a judgment based on the supplementary test. In your case, we cannot make a decision based on the crystal ball, but must go through the evaluation of another assessor. Only then can we finally provide results regarding your level, raising doubts about the credibility of the test. But the level C brother has firmly asserted that the ranking is based on clear criteria, so you can rest assured about this. Amidst the somewhat exaggerated farewell from the group, they waited for you to walk away. Then the branch manager spoke up, saying he could no longer live with his fate. The secretary immediately asked if this crystal ball measuring device reacts to the power of another world within the awakened person's body, right? I'm not sure either. But perhaps the power belonging to the other world that you Handa Sung possess is beyond the scope of the crystal ball, which is why it exploded. Such a sharp argument. The level C awakened young man chuckled while the branch manager doubted that Dasung was an SSS awakened. That could completely happen. The level C thought the secretary was exaggerating. He did not believe there was a possibility that you were an SSS person waiting to call Chan Ho to talk about what happened in the testing room and you had to take a supplementary test. Chan Ho asked if the measuring device was broken, why you had to take a supplementary test, and you replied that you broke it. Chan Ho yelled that it wasn't something you could just smash. You had only been tested for 5 minutes, so how could anyone predict the results? So now you have no choice. Other than to do well on the supplementary test and achieve a high score, Chan Ho told you to go home and rest first. He would send the test date and the exam later. Suddenly, a red light flashed from afar at the construction site. It made Dasung alert, turning to look. It was a female sniper. She thought that no matter how you looked at it, she didn't see anything strong about that guy. Even if that person was a strong awakened, she didn't care. The sniper was preparing to pull the trigger when Dasung turned to look directly at the scope having been discovered. The assassin panicked, his eyes wide in surprise. Could it be that he saw her? Since she started her profession, she had never been detected by any hunter. Suddenly, Dasung tapped his head, wanting to say, "Shoot here, there's a lot of blood." Then the person glared at her, sending a message that if you're good, aim right here and shoot. Just as he was about to retreat, a command to fire echoed from somewhere, and the assassin immediately raised the gun into shooting position. Bang, a bullet shot out of the barrel, flying straight to where you were standing, causing an explosion with tremendous force dust flying everywhere. Dare to mess with me. A moment later, the dust cleared and you were still standing there without losing a single piece of skin. The bullet used this time was not a normal one, but an aura bullet that had been flattened. The sniper then panicked, running for his life out of the building. Suddenly, the newly acquired dagger of Dung flew towards the sniper and pinned him in the thigh. A painful scream echoed, and he fell flat on the ground. Dung appeared from nowhere with an incredibly strong aura, causing the sniper to be terrified. You mocked him, saying it was a pity you aimed right at the spot. But even so, it wouldn't send you off. I don't move that fast, darling. The dagger on her thigh had disappeared. The sniper quickly grabbed the gun at his hip and took an attack stance, asking how he survived my aura bullet. Where did you come from, you lost one? You introduced yourself without hesitation as Handi-sung, the lost one from hell, feeling like you were being teased. You fired multiple aura bullets. With the sound of gunfire booming, shaking the entire construction site, the sniper still dared not let down his guard. Suddenly you appeared right behind like a shadow. She didn't expect that after shooting you would fall. In the dust where she had just shot, there was only a soulless black shadow that Dung created. Suddenly his eyes turned red and a hand lunged to grab her neck and slam her against the wall. In the dust and smoke where she just shot, there was only a soulless black shadow created by Dung. Suddenly red eyes flared up and a hand lunged to choke her and slam her against the wall. Being squeezed to the point of severe oxygen deprivation before I could rescue myself, a bunch of black hands crawled out from the wall, revealing a mass with many eyes, mouths, and hands like a pile of goo. It scared her so much that she temporarily fainted. Seeing that made her feel frustrated, having passed out before even doing anything. He moved aside to pick up some leftover bullet shells, ignoring the sniper hanging limply on the wall, unable to comprehend how these things could possess such immense power to destroy. Looking at the gun case, he noticed a picture of the entire family inside it. He threw a bullet shell at the sniper's head. When she woke up, she suddenly screamed like a madwoman. He immediately got to the point, saying, "Answer my question, or if you dare to make noise or talk nonsense, then I will put you on the altar right away." He threw the family photo and his personal information down in front of her and asked, "Who sent you?" The sniper, terrified, sweated profusely. She thought she couldn't reveal any information about the Red Demon Gang. Now, if I just randomly say a name, how would they know? She immediately mentioned the name Kim Sung-han, the muscular dog of the loan organization that he had destroyed not long ago. That guy said he was the one who cleaned out their money. Now she suddenly remembered the sum of 500 million. Thinking she had gained his trust, he suddenly shot something. It made a hole as big as a piglet in her shoulder. She screamed in pain while the pile of hands still held her tightly. He coldly interrogated her, thinking that a killer who obeyed so much was indeed suspicious. "If you dare to talk nonsense, I will make you die immediately." He gave the sniper one last chance to reveal the truth. "Who sent you?" The sniper didn't dare to disclose any information about the Red Demon Gang. If she didn't die here, then being targeted by the Red Demon Gang, no matter which way she chose, she would meet her end. Saying that, she suddenly raised her hand, trying to channel all her strength into it, then slammed it straight onto her heart. "Even if you ask 100 million times more, my answer will still be the same." Seeing that, he realized the sniper wanted to commit suicide, but he still had no reaction other than staring at her. The sniper continued to scream madly. Then he quickly drilled a hole in her chest. She had gone ahead a bit. The sniper, with an expression of utmost horror, never expected to be killed so absurdly. He coldly ignored her as she coughed up blood. He casually said, "You go down there by yourself. I'm tired of that damned hell." Blood soaked the floor. Suddenly, the sniper's body slumped down, sitting in a pool of her own blood, and she died. Seeing that, he felt bored because he had wasted effort all this time without finding the one behind it, that bastard. Now he had to clean up this mess. He didn't want to use it at all because this item always made him feel like he was plummeting without brakes. He summoned the diary with the keyword "Memories of the Dead," and shortly after he found page 134. At this point, everything could be resolved quickly. He continued to open the spatial portal. Most areas around here were very close to the crack of the heavenly gate. He needed to find something to cover the corpse. Otherwise, if someone discovered this stinking corpse, it would be very troublesome. In the vast construction site in a hidden corner, a blue tarp stood out with a hand lying in a pool of blood sticking out. So is it well hidden? At this moment, he had stepped through the portal straight into the divine hall. As soon as he appeared, the system sent a notification that the beast spirits here welcomed his return. Absolutely, at the same time, the system also sent a question about which moment he wanted to recreate. In the Diary of Hell, page 134 records the prison that holds souls. This is the main weapon of the Demon King, one of the 15 lords governing hell. Along with the demon god, it is an artifact that can summon the dead by binding them with their own blood. These artifacts were created by prehistoric people. They were designed to be easily distinguishable from natural objects. Remembering the first time he set foot in the soul prison, he thought he could fight easily. But the commander he summoned was so weak that he could not control it properly. While he was lost in thought, the system sent a notification to recreate day 198 of the 67th year in the temple. This place is not like hell. It is where the corpses from Earth are processed. This time he had to use it wisely. After making a decision, he quickly selected to activate it. The system began to recreate the location of the river of corpses recorded on page 134, and suddenly the space around him started to warp. And dimly appearing along with the river full of corpses under the deep purple water were the remnants of skulls drifting lazily. On the other side of the river was the territory of the Demon King. Previously, there was a boat to cross this river, but now there was nothing. He couldn't even swim across the river. Just soaking his body in the water for a moment would cause his entire body to be gnawed by the corpses until it decomposed. The system displayed a notification window for the mission to receive items with medium difficulty, requiring him to eliminate the creatures from heaven that were occupying the river of corpses. The target is 20 white pillars within 30 minutes. Completing the mission will grant rewards and the protection of the evil spirit with a success rate of 50% for the soul prison. The notification just ended. Dung was already in the sights of unidentified creatures. Then a series of bright purple eyes lurking in the darkness awaited approval for elimination. He looked up and discovered a swarm of strange robotic spiders hanging above. They were the white pillars of the direct race. The program for eliminating intruders in the territory of the robots was activated at that moment. They jumped down to prepare for an attack. One spider leaped forward, spitting out a purple ball, but he easily dodged it. The ball hit a rock, causing it to corrode immediately. Dung understood that if he just defeated these, the system would reward him. It could be a boat. He quickly summoned the Blade Squad just as a giant robotic spider was falling. Dung kicked off the ground, launching himself straight at the monster. He stabbed it with a knife, swiftly slicing down a line before gently landing. The robot suddenly fired a barrage of purple bombs from above. They rained down like a storm, forcing him to activate his red-eyed mode to fight. To him, this was nothing to fear, and he didn't have to dodge it like avoiding a curse. Despite the bombs rushing towards him, he stood tall, refusing to yield. His body emitted a protective shield that blocked the onslaught of purple bombs. Given the current situation, dealing with each one individually seemed necessary. They appeared to have no intention of backing down, so he dropped down with a single strike. Dung plunged down with a tremendous shockwave. The spiders had just jumped onto the rock and were thrown off balance, tumbling down to the ground. He dashed like an arrow, slashing wildly at the robotic spiders, causing them to bleed. He caught the core of the last spider with his bare hands. Then he crushed it into pieces, fighting fiercely like that. The system continuously displayed notifications that the mission was completed. The current success rate for the soul prison reached 50%. The reward was granted to the absolute being, and the system sent him a glowing sphere with a purple orb inside. The reward information was the protection of the demon. It was the armor named the protection of the demon, made from white material, which reduces physical damage and grants immunity to all attacks from corpses. He murmured to read it carefully once more, and then the system appeared with a question asking if he wanted to wear it immediately. But there is one more note that after wearing it twice, you can wear it as you wish. Startled, you look towards the river of the dead and suspect that you could use this to swim across. Looking at the river still rushing, you gradually sink into the heavy water. Suddenly, you place your golden foot on the shore and your whole body is enveloped by the armor. The system immediately updates with a notification that the demons admire the outstanding swimming ability of the absolute being. The demons of the temple are extremely sorry. Because they cannot help the absolute being, you angrily shout at the system, "No one told you to shut up." Just as you were about to move forward, a blinding light appeared. You step in and instantly disappear inside. At this moment, you have entered the territory of the Demon King. Surrounding you is a heap of desolation and ruins. There is not a single soul in sight. Even the ancient city of the Demon King has vanished. The system jumps in to send a message that the demons of the temple are extremely sorry for the disappearance of the Demon King's ancient city. You angrily say, "I am not a part-time worker, but isn't this the way to carry out missions in the ancient city?" You were about to check around when suddenly the ground shook violently. Still not understanding what was happening, suddenly there was a loud explosion right in front of you, revealing a wall. It continuously shot up high without any sign of stopping. You stood there admiring the rapid rise of that wall, and finally the earthquake came to an end. A towering spire emerged through the thick dust. It was the spire from heaven, an architectural masterpiece designed by the beings dwelling in the sky. It is made from divine stone, serving to imprison wandering souls in the 9 layers of clouds. A large gate of the tower suddenly opened, and the wind howled ominously, looking very frightening. You are not afraid at all. Instead, you are thinking about entering it. If you do, the next mission might be activated. That's right, the mission to carry out Item 2 is currently in progress according to the log on page 134, the Soul Prison of the Demon King. This mission has a high difficulty level. You must eliminate 1,000 beings to reach heaven created by the spire. You only have 2 hours to complete it. If successful, you will receive a reward of storage and an additional 5,000 points specifically for the soul prison reaching 100%. Suddenly, a heavy foot stomped down on the ground. A monster in rusty old armor holding a spear gradually appeared before you. You stared, not understanding what kind of strange creature it was. Looking closely at its face, it seemed somewhat familiar. This is from the command order. As long as it belongs to the demon type, it will not have any hostile thoughts towards you. Suddenly, a horde of demons burst forth, crazily rushing towards you. Not wanting that eerie scream to overwhelm you, you also flex your muscles and roar. Surrender. The fierce aura radiating made the Commander Legion somewhat fearful. The monsters of the temple sent you a message apologizing for the rebellion of the soldiers. The message was sent not even a second before the crazies began to scream at you. You were unfazed by the situation. You immediately used several attacks from your skills. You suddenly realized that these guys seemed not to be equipped with cores. You wondered if it was due to that white pillar. The Commander Legion was growing in number, and they were sticking out their tongues as they walked. Seeing that they were not afraid of you, you summoned the Blood Demon transformation, and the system alerted you. Once this energy source is activated, it will consume a certain amount of HP every hour, and the attack power in all states and skills will increase by 300%. Your eyes burned with intensity at that white pillar. You had to break through immediately. You took a step back to gain momentum. You propelled yourself forward like a lightning bolt, slashing demons wherever you went. This sudden attack helped your speed nearly reach absolute point, using just one punch to send the whole group flying hundreds of kilometers away. The number of creatures you have killed has now reached 50 out of 10,000, and it has increased to 130 out of 10,000. At this moment, you have arrived in front of the wall where a group of demons is lurking behind the door. Indeed, it must be destroyed from the inside to be effective. But suddenly, a squad of command soldiers rushed out from the white bamboo, as numerous as a festival. Without hesitation, they charged forward to seize the initiative, slashing wildly, and then jumping to strike at the white pillar. A loud explosion rang out as the towering tower began to collapse, shattering into pieces. The white pillar was destroyed, causing the command soldiers to gradually vanish into the thick dust. You walk powerfully on the ground of this country. At this moment, half of your armor has turned black, and this transformation makes you even stronger. You have completed 100% of the soul collection. You receive a reward, unlocking a rune along with 5,000 achievement points. Suddenly, 2 large orbs, one purple and one orange, appear. One is a specific item. The other is an item from the reward, but you are not in a hurry to take it yet. You want to check other items first. You command the retrieval of the purple orb, which immediately emits a thin mist. It then flies straight in front of you, and the reward information appears, revealing its name as the Soul Prison, classified as a work of art. This is the only treasure that only the Demon King possesses. It can absorb the souls of the deceased and then merge with the blood of the owner, turning them into command soldiers. The special skill is imprisonment. When a subject is considered lost, their soul will be trapped in the artifact. Resurrection is the second skill. You can resurrect the souls of the deceased and use them as infantry. The third special skill is memory sharing. You can observe some memories of the command soldiers. The current number of souls being imprisoned is no more than 20. Your original goal was to collect zombies and secure information, but 20 is too few. Perhaps that is why you received this additional reward. You read the command for retrieval again, causing the orange orb to spontaneously ignite. The system appears with the question of whether you want to engrave the rune in the prison. Without choosing, you continue to command retrieval, causing the energy surrounding the two orbs to react. The system announces that the current number of imprisoned souls is now over 100. You take the glowing purple orb and suddenly crush it. The system immediately displays a notification of the soul prison. Holding the soul that is being absorbed, your goal has been achieved and you want to leave. But suddenly a golden orb pops out from somewhere, making you feel confused. The system immediately warns that the monsters are writhing before the fierce energy. Emanating from the light, the monsters of the divine temple advise the absolute being to be cautious. As a supreme being, you are not obliged to heed their words. You continue to retrieve, causing the orb to glow again. It suddenly merges into your hand, creating a strange mark on your palm, and the mystical energy gradually fades away. Then it leaves a circular mark, and immediately a notification board appears before you while you are still in a daze, stating that the mission has been completed. LM appears with a score of 1 out of 3. You thought it was something wonderful, but it turned out to be a trivial mission wasting time. You feel very disappointed and summon the portal. Time to return to the real world. Just a few seconds later, you are back at the construction site in reality, but a new problem arises. The corpse hidden under the green curtain along with a pool of blood has suddenly vanished. Regardless of the world, you return home. As soon as you step inside, you see your sister peeking at the door. Before you can catch your breath, she interrupts you, asking where you have been to come home so late. The food has gone cold. Out on the street, you are a shark. At home, you are a little fish. Hearing your sister say that makes you a bit nervous, and you quickly apologize. Then she just sighs and urges you to hurry in to eat. As soon as you sit down, the hot dishes your mother prepared are already on the table. Just then, the TV is broadcasting news about the crack incident of the portal. Yesterday's incident was larger than the previous one. Seeing this, your mother immediately turns off the TV and suggests that the family focus on eating. You chew while saying that the world has changed a lot. Yesterday's event was on a larger scale than the last time. Seeing that his mother immediately turned off the TV and suggested that the whole family focus on having dinner, Dung mumbled while chewing that the world had changed a lot. Even monsters appearing in the news makes her uneasy, so she glanced at you and explained that she was afraid you would be shocked, which is why she didn't dare to tell you. I'm sorry for not being able to help you as a mother. Dung did not complain or blame anyone about that. As long as 2 people survive without being injured in this world, you should be very grateful for that, Grandma. She was extremely surprised by her son's maturity, while the younger sister, hearing that, shyly turned her face away to dispel the uncomfortable atmosphere. At this moment, he asked his mother and sister if they wanted anything. Jisoo frowned, acting as if he would buy something fancy for her. The meal took place in a very warm atmosphere filled with laughter. After a while, he called his friend Chan Ho, who was in the Soul Gang, to inform him that he would temporarily go into hiding for a while. Chan Ho thought it was due to a makeup test or that he wanted to train for something, so he wanted to lay low. He vaguely replied that he would lock himself away in the mountains. Along with the training, it was similar. Chan Ho thought that today Dae-sung must have eaten something that made him a bit slow, but he was very alert while making this decision. I discovered an insect, but it disappeared right in front of me. The body at the construction site vanished without a trace. Anyway, during my absence, it's troublesome. Please take care of Mom and Jisoo for me. Chan Ho fulfilled his responsibility as a good friend and immediately agreed. He didn't know what his best friend was planning, while Dae-sung was busy with his hands in his pockets on the roof of the building. To think of a way to lure the mastermind out into the open at the building of the Red Ghost Gang at this moment. A henchman was reporting the situation, saying that they had dealt with the body, but the way Dae-sung turned a B-class assassin into a rookie didn't seem easy. How does the boss plan to handle him? Lee Seok-yu didn't care much and told his subordinate to just leave it alone. He was eavesdropping. You will participate in this hunter test. At that time, it would be his opportunity to eliminate you, so for now, just play along to conserve energy, right? Jin Chun, who was breathing in the glass cage, also agreed. Can we start now? The brothers have been waiting for this day for a long time. I wonder if that scar-faced guy outside can hear anything through the glass. Suddenly, the doctor standing aside said, Chen, the heart rate is stabilizing. Jin Chun is very stable, preparing to proceed with the serum injection. Lee Seok-yu pretended to worry that Jin Chun would be in a lot of pain. Are you ready, little one? Jin Chun showed great enthusiasm and said he was ready since he set foot in this place. Very satisfied with that answer. He immediately signaled to proceed with the experiment right away. After receiving the order, the doctor pressed the start button, and a blue liquid was immediately pumped directly into Jin Chun's vein, causing the veins in his hands to bulge. The absorption rate reached 20% and the heart rate remained stable. When it reached 40%, his face began to show discomfort to the point of grinding his teeth, and suddenly blue veins appeared on his face and eyes. At this moment, the absorption rate reached 55%. His body had exceeded the allowed limit to continue the infusion. He coldly said to keep going, prompting the doctor to warn him. He might die from that drug shock, but Lee SEO confidently asserts that Jin Chun won't go down that easily. The absorption level has reached 80%. Then it increased to 90%. Jin Chun screamed in pain, and with a flash of blue light, the absorption level hit 100%. The heart rate chart on the monitor drew a flat line, and he had already fainted in the testing chamber with blue veins protruding. The doctor trembled as he announced that the heart rate was non-existent. Chun had passed away. Hearing this, the CEO remained calm and signaled for him to shut up and feel the moment. The hand in the test tube made very slight movements, prompting the doctor to quickly monitor the chart. Suddenly, the heart rate display showed signs of life returning, which astonished him greatly. Jin Chun's eyes suddenly bulged, and with his blue veins, he shattered the test tube and stepped out, then suddenly let out a fierce roar. A wicked smile suddenly appeared on the CEO's lips. He almost disappointed him. He was very much looking forward to seeing the schedule for the next 10 days. The other side had just sent a message stating that the test only allowed everyone to use weapons and various defenses provided by the association. Realizing this, he thought if he couldn't use weapons, he could rely on his physical strength, but he would have to check this. He picked up a branch and tapped it against his hand, and just as he predicted, his protective armor was completely invisible to the naked eye. That's why. He could also bring protective items along with weapons to see how it goes. He summoned a space portal, reached in, rummaged around, and pulled out a short sword, so weapons could also be camouflaged. He regarded this branch as a type of weapon. The system immediately displayed the question, "Do you want to transform the short sword into a recognized weapon?" Of course, he accepted right away, and the short sword instantly transformed into a small branch. The process was completed simultaneously, and this technique would also work with weapons. So he could carry his beloved blade without worry, but he still hesitated, unsure if he should return to the Pantheon in the territory of the Fire King. A desert appeared, burning bright red with trees wilting. He took heavy steps forward, not thinking he would ever return here. Suddenly, a pack of desert wolves appeared in front of him, staring at him with hostile eyes. He was completely unfazed by the scene. The system sent a mission. The item contract had a high difficulty level with 337 points. He needed to eliminate Akio's patrol in the desert and collect soul stones. The mission duration was 2 hours with a target of 1,000 soul stones along with a reward of 500 achievement points and a sword contract. Increasing by 50%, some information about the wolves appeared. They belonged to the monster species and were warriors trained by Akio, the fifth apostle of heaven. He didn't expect to have the opportunity to test the sharpness of this short sword so soon. He immediately cut into his palm to activate the soul prison technique. At that moment, a desert wolf with a huge sword stood right in front of him. He just smiled disdainfully and said, "What's up? Your food looks different." Seeing this, the wolf furiously lifted the sword, preparing to strike him. Before it could do anything, he dashed forward and unleashed a flurry of slashes, causing it to tumble headfirst to the ground. He seized the momentum and was determined to eliminate these patrols. One by one, they vaporized into nothingness. He moved like a skilled dancer, leaping to the rhythm of battle. Now there were 33 out of 100 wolves left, gripping the short sword tightly in his hand. He coldly gazed at the remaining ones. Just as he finished speaking, the pack of desert wolves rushed forward. Suddenly, a greenish-black hand blocked the attack from the lead wolf. A muscular, green-headed wolf appeared out of nowhere. The other creatures are gradually emerging from the summoning gates, with the green-headed wolf crushing the head of a demon with a squeeze of its hand, causing the remaining ones to tremble in fear. Dung immediately ordered them to charge forward and attack. The green wolves howled frantically and ran straight toward the white wolves, who were also filled with fighting spirit. Both monster legions crashed into each other, a true battle of monsters unfolding in the distance. Dung was busy lighting a cigarette and wondered, how can he survive while puffing on a cigarette all day? The battle of the wolf pack was becoming increasingly fierce, and a white wolf was split in half right before his eyes. Then it vanished instantly, leaving him to face the demon. Although now only weaklings remained, he still couldn't let his guard down. The wolf crossed through the flames and advanced straight toward him. A blue light followed it. Just as it swung its weapon to strike, it was chained down by the light. Strangely, that was the arm of the green wolf being summoned to protect him, with the hidden seal on their bodies continuously resurrecting the desert wolf, which was being pulled back with tremendous force. Then it was engulfed by the soul of the green wolf. These are the immortal warriors who do not even regard death as anything. The system displayed a notification that the soul stone target had reached 12 out of 1,000. Dung immediately activated his limbs to join the battle, aiming to speed up the completion of the mission. He had already completed half of it. He had to be quick to move on to another mission. He stomped once to gain momentum and shot up into the air, leaving behind a large explosion as he soared upward at an incredible speed. With his current strength, he could easily slash through hundreds of those beasts within 2 hours when he reached a height just enough to observe the entire battlefield. He immediately stopped and smirked with excitement, wondering if he should land there. Just after he said that, Dung dove straight down. The wolves were still fiercely battling, completely unaware. Suddenly, a white wolf sensed something unusual and looked up to see him descending like a meteor, causing the entire army to abruptly stop fighting to admire. A blinding light radiated, followed by a powerful impact. The extreme light made the entire surrounding space turn white. At that moment, at the headquarters of the Ice Soul team, a test was taking place. A slash was driven straight into the belly of a purple monster of D rank. A girl had slashed straight up to the monster's neck. Causing it to die instantly, the system displayed a notification that she had eliminated all the monsters programmed in the machine. The purple monster gradually faded away, leaving the girl with the glowing sword who was panting. That was Shin Choi, a member of the Ice Soul. The system also praised her for doing very well and concluded the hunting simulation process. The head of the Ice Soul team, observing from outside, turned to ask the leader. He found her recent performance not bad, but she often worries and loses focus during real combat. The guild leader replied that he shouldn't worry about that. They are currently designing a training method to address that issue. We still have about 10 days left. The leader requested that they must intensify training so that she can advance at least 2 more ranks. Only then will she have a chance to defeat the crazy dog Long Zin. From the Red Demon team, because of that bastard in the previous test, no one could score higher than Shin Choi. But that was understandable since she was only at rank B. Meanwhile, that dog over there is at rank A. He said you will never know. What the Red Demons will do, the guild leader wondered if they intended to experiment with that thing after that accident. Weren't they banned from using new recruits for a year? The leader said, I think this time. They will come up with a more terrifying and mysterious plan. They are frantically preparing to reclaim what they lost that year. In the end, this first test will only feature Shin Choi and Zhang Jin. This will be the stage for the two to showcase their abilities as long as there is no sudden involvement from the monsters. Messages from the monsters were sent to Dung. The creatures of Pandemonium greatly admired the power of the Supreme Being and feared the Supreme. But they also expressed respect and admiration, as is customary. A type of monster technique was supporting him. The system displayed that the Soul Stone target had been completed, reaching 999 out of 1,000. He held the cigarette awkwardly, but didn't know how to put it out. The wolf he was sitting on groaned a few times, causing him to angrily draw his dagger and say, "Shut your mouth while I'm smoking," saying that he stabbed it a few times, and the system displayed a message that the mission was completed. The contract process was also beginning to progress. He had collected 500 achievement points, and the current contract rate of the flame sword was 50% of the wolves' souls. The desert transformed into floating green orbs above the pile of corpses flying toward him. The system informed him that these were soul seeds, requiring him to place them on the altar. Dung was still puffing on the cigarette, wondering what the hell was around here that looked like an altar. He reached for the orb, thinking he would have to go searching again. As soon as he grasped the soul orb, it emitted an extremely abundant source of energy, and a pillar suddenly shot straight up from the ground, followed by a thick wall rising up. In front of him was a table with stone pillars on both sides. He couldn't help but marvel at the beauty of the orb and the altar over there. The Pandemonium monster sent a message saying he was wrong for being too hasty in considering everything. He threw the unfinished cigarette onto the pile of corpses at his feet. The system announced a new mission, the second item contract, 337 points. The Flame Sword mission was underway with high difficulty. He needed to place the soul orb on the altar. and prove his worth to the Guardian with no time limit. The goal was simply to gain the Guardian's recognition, with the first reward being an additional 20,000 achievement points. The second reward was the Guardian's blood, and the contract rate of the flame sword had also reached 100%. Dung quickly placed the orb on the altar, causing it to suddenly glow brightly. Suddenly, something large and long emerged from the ground behind the altar. He quickly activated his alert mode to the highest level as the thing fully appeared before him. It was a giant snake radiating overwhelming power from its large, round eyes, and his eyes were locked onto each other, sparking with intensity. The system had to appear to introduce the massive creature. This is the favorite monster of Oken, the fifth apostle of heaven. To obtain the sacred artifact guarded by the Guardian, you must answer its questions. After hearing this, he stood frozen, staring at the status board, thinking he had received a fun mission, but now he had to answer a snake's questions. "All right, if you like it, I'll indulge you. Ask away," he said to the snake, ready to answer anything. Seeing this, it immediately lowered its head close to him and spoke a few words. It hissed something incomprehensible, and he bowed his head in frustration because this stupid snake dared to mess with him. He couldn't take it anymore and stabbed it right in the eye. The snake cried out in pain and collapsed. The system immediately announced that the blood entry process had been activated. He would transform into a demon. However, when this technique was activated, a specific amount of HP would be reduced over a certain period, and the attack power of skills and stats would decrease by 300%. Dung lightly waved his hand and threw the dagger once more. This strike pierced through both of the snake's eyes, causing it to scream in rage. He held the dagger in his hand, and his eyes gleamed with a fierce light as he looked at the snake, which was swaying with its blinded eyes. He growled like a wild beast. "Don't think I'm gentle and look down on me. You must be tired of living right." Saying that, he called it a crazy snake and stabbed down at its head, making it scream in madness. Suddenly, its head swelled abnormally and then exploded like a balloon. He landed lightly on the ground, and Dung walked away proudly, a foul smell rising in the air that made him want to vomit. Suddenly, something made him turn back. The snake was erupting with green streaks of light, regenerating as expected. Dung immediately gripped the dagger tightly, causing his hand to be marked with streaks of blood. At this moment, the snake had completely returned in a new version with an extremely fiery appearance. It was incredibly furious, with red eyes and a wide-open mouth as if it wanted to devour him alive. Seeing this, he changed his strategy and boldly challenged it, "If you're good, come at me." He silently observed its movements to see what it would do next. Suddenly, its eyes turned red and it charged straight at him. Dung did not hesitate to leap into its mouth. He used one hand to pry open its upper jaw and his whole body to force its mouth open, staring intently at that source of energy. A brilliant light was radiating, blazing like a large torch, sustaining the snake's life. This was undoubtedly the torch of rebirth. Suddenly, the snake lowered its head to the ground. Then it immediately raised its head to digest the system that appeared, with the lamenting cries of the monsters of pandemonium falling into despair. The demon closed its eyes and turned its head. Sensing something wrong inside, it immediately spat out a pile of slimy liquid, and among that mess was a large, long sword wrapped in chains. He disdainfully said, "This is indeed useless for a handless creature like you." The system notified him that he had collected the Fire Peak sword with a contract level of 50%. So it wasn't at the highest level to use the special skills. 1, 2, and 3 were still sealed, but for him that was enough to defeat the lizard that couldn't use the resurrection torch. Seeing him, the snake immediately opened its stinky mouth and let out a cry full of indignation. He grabbed the sword and felt excited, thinking about using it to fight against the black snake. This sword contained an incredible power yet to be fully unleashed. Swinging the sword straight at its head made it thrash around violently. Then a powerful beam of light erupted. Accompanied by a shockwave, with just one slash, he easily split the snake in half, sending it to paradise at that moment. The familiar system appeared before him with a notification that the contract level of the Fire Peak sword had reached 100%, so the contract item had been completed. He received a reward of Blood Guardian and 20,000 achievement points. The chains holding the sword were also removed, and the system displayed a new notification. The Fire Peak sword presented a challenge to see if he was worthy. He had to endure the entire fire challenge within the specified time. This was something he had to overcome to fully control the Fire Peak sword, which was the Fire Peak prison challenge. The system began the countdown 239 hours, 59 minutes, 47 seconds. He had to endure being burned for 240 hours, which was 10 continuous days. Fire surrounded him and the sword and gradually grew larger. But there was no reason for him to carry out this pointless challenge. A commanding voice rang out, "Have you turned into a dog that doesn't recognize its master?" The Fire King system continued the countdown, remaining 239 hours, 54 minutes, 18 seconds. The flames were gradually burning his flesh. He dismissed the countdown while I remained calm. "Otherwise, I will chop you into 100 pieces." Suddenly, time instantly returned to zero. The challenge had ended. He still gripped the hilt of the sword tightly, even though his hand had lost some flesh. Suddenly, a voice rang out, "Master, please forgive me for not recognizing you sooner." Deshung was not angry, but gently said, "It's been a long time since we last met, Fire King. I see the Fire King still remains here." He guessed it hadn't been demoted to pandemonium at the very bottom of hell, where the departed gathered in an endless pit with nothing but. Darkness enveloped the system, reappeared with the cries of the pandemonium demons. They were banging against the wall of darkness, begging him for release. The Fire King also immediately lamented that since he had lost, it had only waited for the day it would disappear from this world. Deshung asked if it hated him. It replied firmly, "No, if that was your choice, I would gladly accept. The only thing I resent is that after you left, it seems you still do not understand the issue." The Fire King quickly explained that one day unidentified entities broke through the walls, and while the Lord of Hell was absent, they took advantage of the moment when the demons were weak. They destroyed Hell, sealing time and space. Hell was not enough to satisfy them. They banished the demons to pandemonium, and I could only watch the demons being defeated. The demons were devoured by a giant white snake. I had lost my ego and could only sit there watching time pass meaninglessly as fortunately. "You have freed me with all due respect," the Fire King said, then quickly wondered what wind had brought Deshung back here. He did not hesitate to speak directly to the point, "I need your help," and what help was needed would be revealed later. He asked it about the golden orb present before him, which it also did not know what it was. But it could sense an unusual source of energy from it. This energy source, similar to the energy source of those unidentified entities, since it itself does not know what it is. It constantly warns Deshung regardless of the warnings. Since the system has never disappointed him, it's best to just collect it like this. As he crushed the golden orb, the system displayed a notification that he received an item to enter 2 out of 3 orbs, which immediately transformed into a seal on his hand. Perhaps when he obtains all 3 of them, it will grant him access to somewhere. The mission has been completed. The system popped up again, asking if he wanted to leave the Pantheon. Deshung immediately refused, as he wanted to return, but there were still many items waiting, which was the reason he stayed in this place. At that time, at the Soul Guild headquarters, everyone was also excitedly discussing the video capturing the massacre of the goblins. Someone asked Chan Ho if he had seen it yet. He just replied with a casual yes, because basically he found it hard to say anything. Suddenly, a man wearing glasses appeared and asked Captain Chan Ho if he was free. Seeing this, he quickly wondered what the director wanted with him, as the staff was fervently discussing the hot video of the Goblin Massacre. Online local hunters were also searching everywhere for that mysterious person. Everyone was curious about the identity of that individual. However, they could not find any information at all. The director walked into the office and called Chan Ho outside to have a private chat on the rooftop of the headquarters. While puffing on a cigarette, the director asked why Chan Ho was present at the scene but didn't gather anything. Hearing this, he felt a pang of anxiety. Why was he asking that, just when he thought the director was his friend? He would ask him to let him join at all costs. Chan Ho answered the director's question, "If I had, I would have brought you." Hearing this, the director's eyes sparkled like stars. Immediately after, he feigned regret, saying that if Chan Ho found something, he would definitely recruit him. Chan Ho forced a smile, pretending to be foolish, as there were only 7 days left until his license expired. Chan Ho asked the director what he would do next. He didn't answer, but instead fell silent, and the conversation suddenly fell into an awkward silence. To break the atmosphere, Chan Ho had to ask another question. "What's wrong, Shin Choi?" After a while, the director finally said, "It's nothing, I'm just worried that you might go too far." 7 days until the license test in a forest, Shin Choi was practicing diligently. The system announced that the simulation program would end in 10 minutes. Suddenly, a large rock abruptly emerged. She immediately took a leap. She dashed straight ahead and delivered a slash that split the rock in half. Just after executing that strike within 2 seconds, another rock popped up right behind her. One side of the rock suddenly sank down, revealing a purple monster standing inside. The monster immediately crawled out of the box and teleported straight to where she was standing. Choi felt something prickly and was startled, quickly turning around, ready to swing her sword to fight. Suddenly, another purple monster appeared behind her. It caught her off guard. She was about to end everything quickly when that hand. They gradually disappeared in this simulated world. The system announced the end of the training program. The virtual world began to fade away. Choi looked displeased at the leader who was observing from above. Seeing this, he called her up to talk. The system announced the end of the training program. The virtual world gradually disappeared. Chan-ho looked displeased at the leader observing from above, seeing that he called her up to talk. It seems that you have reproached something that made her say that you always told me to achieve what I want, even if it's beyond my capabilities. Seeing that, he immediately steered the conversation to the issue of excessive physical training, believing that she understood her body and could continue strict training. The cold leader asked again, who exactly? Then a screen immediately appeared in front of the two, followed by a chart showing on the left the data of a normal nervous system, and next to it was her nervous system measured by someone. He immediately asked her what was wrong because, according to the analysis, psychological disorders were a dangerous factor hindering her development, but she remained stubborn. She refused to speak and insisted that she had to be in the top 5. The leader did not think that she wanted to advance to that level. If she could reach level A, there would be many doors for her to enter, and her income and reputation would also rise. Hearing him say that, she crushed the water bottle in her hand, firmly asserting that those things were not what she desired, biting her lip and staring ahead with an angry look. I just want to eliminate all the monsters that exist in this world. 5 days before the licensing test, Lee Seo-yu was walking into a highly guarded secret corridor, still wearing his usual expressionless face. He then stopped in front of an enormous, heavily reinforced door. After scanning his fingerprint, it immediately opened and a foul smell wafted out from inside, causing him to cover his nose and exclaim, "I didn't expect you to last this long. I need to change the facilities in the isolation area, especially the ventilation system and lighting." He saw a person in white sitting in a pool of blood, chewing voraciously. Grinding on animal corpses, CEO Yu had to call out Zin before he would stop eating and turn his bloodied face to look. Seokyu noticed that recently he seemed healthy, eating well, and the leader of the Pink Ghost Gang advised him to eat and rest properly to let the effects of the medicine subside. The bloodstains on his face and his eyes gleamed with a strong, murderous intent. Jin declared, "I will definitely be the star in the upcoming test in hell." Before the licensing test 3 days prior, the system announced that he had just completed another mission and raised the level of the pact. He was cloaked, standing on a snowy mountain with a sword. The Fire-Crowned King asked, "Master, will you return now?" In response to that question, he decided to return to the real world after many days of wandering to complete missions. Finally, the day of the test arrived, with the awakening rate increasing by 25% compared to last year. With the significant increase in the awakening rate, the competitiveness of the first half of this year's Hunter survey was predicted to rise sharply. The association also announced that they would change the testing method starting this year to prepare for the large number of candidates participating. On the road, a Porsche was speeding by at high speed. Then it stopped at the roadside. Seeing that the reporters rushed out to take pictures, CEO Yu and Jean appeared on the red carpet, welcomed no less than A-list celebrities. A reporter from SBC immediately approached to interview the person next to him, asking if he was the rookie used for the year. This time, "Do you have any predictions about the ranking of the Pink Ghost Gang in this exam?" Another reporter chimed in, mentioning the wrongdoing of the Pink Ghost Gang 2 years ago. That prevented them from participating until last year. "What do you think about your first warrior?" After 2 years, Xiaogu felt extremely uncomfortable with this question, because he had been harassed right at his doorstep like that. He only replied that it was an accident, wondering why the reporter couldn't leave him alone and continued to press with the word accident. Wasn't that a bit unreasonable? He only replied that it was an accident. What was that reporter thinking? Letting him be, he continued to criticize using the word accident, and wasn't that a bit unreasonable? "It seems like you are avoiding responsibility." He suddenly placed his hand on the reporter's shoulder, smiling, and said, "We promise to play fair this year," and then the two left in a cool manner under the light. Flash was flashing as the two were heading towards the competition preparation area. The phrase was said that he should have just ignored those guys earlier. Seokyu suddenly stopped and said he was really glad that the kid was still enjoying it, but he shouldn't show too much excitement. If it got out that he was using drugs, it would be a big problem. While they were talking, a tall man wearing a mask suddenly appeared behind the two. The man said he was very curious to know what the trouble was. CEO Yu glanced back and immediately recognized that it was Director Hwang Yuni, the leader of the gang. He mocked his masked appearance, saying he looked like a gorilla. But he just smiled brightly, saying he had to disguise himself like this to avoid the reporters. And he didn't forget to throw a jab at CEO Yu, saying, unlike someone who had to perform in front of the cameras. Hearing the sarcasm, he pretended to be indifferent, but inside he was furious. Hwang Juni adjusted his hat and looked at Jin, who was yawning like a junkie. Inside, he was radiating quite stable energy despite having a lot of impurities in it. It seemed that the drug had been significantly improved. Seeing Hwang Juni staring intently at his fighting rooster, CEO Yu immediately stepped in between the two to remind them. "The test hasn't even started yet. Why are you staring at him like that?" he calmly replied. "I'm afraid our rookie will also be implicated if you bring someone here like the dark history from 2 years ago. I hope this time it won't repeat itself." Seokyu immediately agreed with him and led Jin away right after. After walking a distance, the fighting rooster dared to glance back. Jin was annoyed, wondering who that dirty old man was to dare look at him with such a judgmental gaze. Seokyu then asked him to hold back his anger to focus. The only thing Jin needed to care about right now was that Choi was preparing to pass by. She walked right in front of him, glancing back at him, and he said, "She is Shin Choi, the rookie who is prioritized for all resources." Even so, in his eyes, she was just a pawn. Seokyu said Jin. "Whether she is strong or weak is not the issue. The issue is the gang and that old man. They are putting all their effort into her." He was not only unafraid, but also extremely excited about the taste of destroying her. It would be truly worth it. Hwang Yuni was also cautiously pondering. Let's see what tricks they plan to pull in this test. But he also had great confidence in Choi. Suddenly, he sensed an immense source of power. A young man with a fierce expression, dressed very ordinarily, was approaching. He stared at him until he walked past. He was still completely stunned until Choi approached and called out, "Boss!" But he still had to watch the boy's back, seeing that the boss had no reaction at all. She called out again, but he only replied with a vague, "Be careful, Choi." She didn't understand what he meant and thought he was referring to the Red Ghost Gang, so she said she always kept her guard up so he didn't need to worry. But Hwang Juni said it wasn't about being cautious of them, but rather that man over there. Dung was busy on the phone, apologizing profusely on the other end. Because he couldn't come here to meet him, Dung had sent quite a lot of stuff to his friend, yet that guy dared to say that if he didn't take it, it would just be trash. The announcement rang out that there were 30 minutes left until the competition began, asking the contestants to please wear uniforms and gather at inspection hall number 3. Dung was standing in front of a vending machine. Not knowing how to use it, he saw an instruction sheet stuck to it. The first step was to scan his fingerprint, then take the box from the exit below and finally open the box to check the equipment inside. He carefully followed each step, and when a box dropped down, he looked down and felt a bit disappointed because the items inside looked just like paper. At that time, the contestants who had changed their clothes had gathered at hall number 3. The bald guy was also participating thanks to sending complaint letters and making threatening calls. He still stubbornly believed that the measuring device was faulty. He didn't properly assess his own innate abilities, and today he was particularly frustrated with a brat who dared to rub his bald head. If he met him again, he would definitely teach that kid a lesson. He was startled to see a hand suddenly appear on his head. Before the test even began, he was so scared that he wanted to drop out. At this moment, Sung had finished changing and was entering the waiting hall with the registration number 104. Continuously waving his hands to warm up and stretch after gathering at hall number 3, the contestants moved into another room of the stadium. Shin Choi's registration number was 16, Jin's was 14, and Sung's was 104. The other contestants had also arrived and were buzzing about the upcoming test. At that moment, the lights in the room began to turn on, suddenly shining extremely brightly. Right after that, 3 large glowing circles appeared above the contestants, making everyone wonder what was happening. Suddenly, a voice rang out, checking the microphone from the podium. A man wearing glasses and a black suit appeared and introduced himself as the supervisor. This time, the Federation had prepared a total of 3 levels each, with a different setting and specific requirements. To complete that level, The contestants were in a frenzy because this was the first time the exam was organized this way. A hand was raised. It was contestant number 51 questioning when they would receive their weapons. The supervisor answered that in this test, contestants would not be provided with weapons. You are not allowed to bring anything except the protective gear you are currently wearing. The participants were very outraged. How could they compete without weapons? Suddenly, a voice chimed in. "Nice to meet everyone. I am iBot, who will help you go further in this exam." The theme of the test is adaptation. You can show how well you can demonstrate your original abilities. Whether in the humid darkness of the night or the cold, dark night, the true value of a hunter does not lie in their equipment, but in the primal aura flowing from their blood. In other words, it relies on one's own strength. You just need to showcase your best fighting and adapting abilities. If there are no more questions, I will start opening the gate. While the contestants were bewildered by the exam rules, the shifting gate was being opened and a black hole appeared right behind them. The supervisor shouted, "Last row, go in," and did not forget to wish good luck to all the contestants. The first level of the circle was a challenge in the rainforest. The weather was scorching hot, causing the contestants to sweat profusely and struggle to catch their breath, with some even screaming. "At this rate, I will turn into dried squid before the test begins." All the images from earlier were being monitored in the control room, where many people were watching every action of the contestants. Some people in the organizing committee were dissatisfied with the quality of this year's contestants, but others believed that this test was too difficult. Perhaps the whole group would fail. Seeing Choi on the screen completely unaffected by the heat, she tried to keep her mind blank to minimize energy consumption. Hwang Juni was very pleased with her performance. Next to Choi's screen, Jin was being rated higher because he was grinning, looking quite fine while glancing at Seokgu behind him. The judge thought that this time, the Red Demon had prepared thoroughly. He was very pleased at the thought of the old man beside Zahn being tense before the power of the Red Fighting Rooster. He glanced back and saw him wide-eyed. He did not expect him to be shocked by such trivial matters. In front of him on the screen was Dasung, looking very calm, as if nothing was happening, making everyone extremely curious about who this talented person was. The CEO raised his eyes to the screen and was taken aback. That guy didn't even sweat a drop. The people in the control room believed he was using a shield by concealing it. Dasung had consumed blood essence, but he did not expect it to take effect so quickly. If discovered, he would be disqualified from the competition. Dasung still had 46 hours, 52 minutes, and 48 seconds left, and was not affected by external factors. The test had not even started yet. Many contestants had already, "I can't stand this heat." A pink bracelet suddenly appeared on each person's wrist, and the system announced that the first level's requirement was to hunt down 20 goblins. Dung was completely confident in this challenge. As soon as the starting command was given, he immediately dashed forward like lightning, causing the other contestants to frantically chase after him, all determined to complete this task. Someone stumbled and bumped into a rock, causing him to fall forward, cursing non-stop, when suddenly he saw a stream of groundwater shooting up. Thirsty and parched, he lunged for the water like a fish out of water, but as soon as his hand touched the cool water, he felt something was off. The water seemed to turn into a sticky substance. Gripping tightly with both hands, he was extremely frightened when suddenly his body was lifted up. It turned out that the water was from this giant sticky worm. It is a type that primarily lives in swamps and catches prey with that slimy liquid. The organizers announced that contestant number 94 had been eliminated and were deploying emergency protection. Jun's sticky head suddenly swelled up and burst open, revealing a sphere containing contestant number 94. When it fell to the ground, it maintained that state to protect the contestant from danger until the medical team arrived. In another part of the forest, Dung was swiftly running as if searching for something. There was nothing he needed here, so he had to change direction. At this moment, 3 people from the medical team had also reached the sticky worm to rescue the contestant when suddenly the messenger device of the scar-faced guy beeped. He checked it and only saw a message tracking number 104. Han Desong's eyes glinted with a dangerous glimmer. A goblin had been spotted. It glared back with fierce eyes at anyone daring to approach. A contestant with a large rock in hand expressed regret, still thinking about attacking the monster from behind. With this, it would be so cool, but the red-eyed monster turned around, and who else but Han Desong asked, "Do you think so?" The big bastard monster began to yell loudly as if starting a fight. These two entities began to charge at each other, and Desong quickly threw the rock at the monster. The rock flew high above the opponent's head, and Dung jumped up and punched hard at the rock, causing it to shatter into hundreds of pieces. Each piece dealt massive damage, continuously shooting towards the monster. The explosion shattered a corner of the forest, and everything was witnessed by the rescuer from earlier. He knew that was number 104 when they told him to find one of the participants whom he had never seen or heard of before. He thought they had left. It turned out this was not the first one. Adding this guy made 6 of them. But none of these names seemed to be lagging behind compared to the amateurs from the major clans. The rescuer thought that just hunting them down like this would be ineffective. He didn't want to use his hands at this moment at all, but there was no other choice. Summon the shadow of Dung, the entity inside, to continue searching for the monster. The power had spread across a vast area of the forest, enveloping the distant trees in a cave of monsters. They seemed to have sensed it. This cave contained many monsters. As one overconfident guy went ahead, another quickly shortened the distance, thinking that if you wanted to enjoy a better prey, you had to be patient. It turned out they were waiting for the contestants, but the cave suddenly shook, making them alert. The noise grew louder, and turning around, they saw a young man. Who jumped in out of nowhere but Dung? How annoying it turned out. You guys had dug a tunnel underground so I couldn't see any of you. Even after washing my eyes, the monster thought the prey had willingly presented itself on 2 legs. It seemed to know what was good. 1, 2, 3. Dung was counting each of them, probably around 20. This made the monsters feel strange. "Why are you all so restless?" Dung asked loudly. The magical shadow seemed to see you as prey, asking what your command was while looking at the group of monsters. Dung laughed at these guys. "It's really funny. So you commanded the shadow to burn all of them down." Outside the tomb, other contestants were also eagerly participating. Choi Rang was using the skill to open the aura, helping her search a wider area. The circle was getting larger. Thanks to the high coverage signal, Choi Rang found a target immediately. She took advantage of the surrounding terrain and jumped, kicking right into a tree trunk by the road. Falling from above was a monster, and she immediately identified the prey. Choi Rang calculated that if she continued like this, she would only need 1 hour to complete. On the first floor, she quickly aimed at the monster that was trying to escape, gathering all her strength. The 4th one was killed, but just as she reached the prey, another person came and took the monster's head. This made Choi Rang unable to react in time. She turned to look at that person. It was Jin Cheol. The monster fell down, and Choi Rang immediately recognized him as a member of the Red Horse. Jin Cheol confidently flaunted his looted trophy. Choi Rang was furious, stealing someone else's prey. It was only the Red Horse. Jin Cheol retorted, "They were competing with each other, weren't they? There's no way that belongs to you, right?" He mocked her, saying she was dumber than a fool. Choi Rang didn't take this guy seriously. With someone following her and stealing everything she found, it was really annoying. She continued speaking. "Isn't the trait of absorbing others' colors a tradition of his family?" Jin Cheol wouldn't back down. Since when did her family take being a fool as a tradition? 2 people, 2 rival families. Jin Cheol was furious. Should he just kill this bitch? She was more annoying than he thought. If he did that, at least he should let her live until the 2nd round. Choi Rang left after giving a light laugh, sending a friendly greeting to Jin Jun, telling him to play alone, head in the ground. Jin Cheol was so angry his eyes turned red, wanting to kill her. Just as he was about to charge, a loud explosion from afar shook the entire forest, making both of them stop arguing to check it out. The big explosion caused both Jin Cheol and Choi Young to stop their fight and turn back to look due to its powerful impact. The explosion seemed to devastate the entire forest. Smoke and fire erupted fiercely. The event occurred a few minutes ago, and the character responsible was none other than Han De-sung, who had just commanded the shadow to eliminate all the monsters. The flames were eagerly waiting for orders. "Please give the command, Master," and contestant number 104 did not hesitate to say, "Burn them," the system of De-sung announced. The first special ability of the Hellfire Sword was activated after receiving the command. The flames were burning more vigorously. The first special skill of Hellfire had been activated. With a loud roar, a stream of fire erupted, rushing forward like a dragon. And the ones directly hit who else but the ferocious monsters in front, attacking head-on with such destructive power. It's no surprise when it created a gigantic shockwave that echoed throughout the forest, witnessing that horrifying and magnificent scene. The staff of the prosecutor's office could hardly believe their eyes. The system announced that contestant 104 had met the conditions to complete the 1st floor and was being coordinated to the 2nd gate. No one believes how this could be possible. The inspection has just started not long ago. How could the answer be completed so quickly? The entire office began to stir in front of the mysterious talent. Start issuing orders to carefully review the candidate's file. They must recruit him quickly. Send the contract conditions over here. Director Huang Juniel also truly did not expect he knew that the boy would exceed everyone's imagination, but he really did not expect it to be to this extent. Leader Xiokgu witnessed this and frowned, seemingly unable to believe that such a powerful character existed. Xiokgu quickly left, leaving everyone astonished. His gaze seemed to have some scheme. There was a hint of jealousy on the screen, still showing the explosion scene. The core staff were also gaping at the strength of the guy who had destroyed their previous testing machine. Secretary Jiang was shaking her head while Mr. An was in shock beside her. "Did you see that? I told you he doesn't look like an ordinary person." The young man was also frowning. "I know." "Please stop shaking," Li Xiao said. "Is that Jin Sang?" To confirm, he asked again to the two colleagues beside him. Right. Looking back, the two were also wide-eyed. "Yes, that's right. It really is Jin Sang. Why is that old man here?" With his small frame, he was holding a huge axe that was twice his size, looking around among the fallen monsters. He spotted a monster that wasn't completely dead, so he approached and aimed the axe at it, as there were still many that were not fully dead, 1, 2, or 3 of them. So that makes 11 monsters. It was indeed wise to follow that kid. No, number 104, the staff felt helpless and speechless at this coward. "Isn't that cheating?" Someone else said, "No, the theme of this test is adaptation. From the beginning, he was an ordinary person who had never awakened, so why is he participating?" Jiang turned back, beaming. "That day, Han De-sung destroyed countless measurement chains, Mr. Unopposed. Sorry, but what does that have to do with this? That's why there are rumors that he wants to invalidate the measurement results because he had a broken chain," he added, confused. Jiang thought that it was said a large number of complaints were sent to the organization, wasn't it, because of that? After losing patience listening to the explanation, he tapped Jiang, "Wake up." Lisa thought that even if the superiors were not doing their job properly, it was still somewhat sudden for the branch manager to appear. He sincerely apologized. For not doing the job properly, causing all three to be startled, they all knew they had misspoken and turned to the person. "Sorry, branch manager, you have arrived." He also informed them that he was the one who brought Jin Sang to participate in this, causing all three to look up and ask, "Why suddenly?" Then the branch manager recounted. 3 days ago, he received a report that he was caught trying to break into the gate with a bomb wrapped around his body. Jiang was surprised to hear this. Don't tell me he intended to commit suicide because he couldn't awaken. The manager quickly corrected him, saying that a few years ago a family had died because of the gate fracture. Surely he wanted revenge. Everyone fell silent after hearing this. It seems they didn't think the story was that deep. Lee Sa-ho believed that if they continued to care for those in tragic circumstances, sooner or later the system would collapse. After hearing this, the others whispered among themselves as if to mock that somewhat serious statement, making Lee Seo-ho feel embarrassed. "I said something wrong." The branch manager comforted him, saying, "No, you're right, that is impossible. But he is the one behind that person. His salary will be reduced for 3 months, but he is still very lucky to find such a bright gem." Suddenly, the main screen flickered. The system was unstable. What's going on? "The screen is malfunctioning again. Call the IT team." The image of Han De-sung was also fading. At the headquarters of the Red Demon, the guards were watching very strictly as the handheld screen was thrown away. It was handed directly to the CEO's assistant, who informed him that the control team was probably in chaos. The assistant asked about contestant 104. Wasn't he supposed to be eliminated from level 2 or 3 by now? The CEO replied that was before the opponent surpassed Jin Cheol and eliminated him. That sounds a bit excessive. The CEO showed a disdainful look. He just wanted to conduct a small test to see how strong the kid was. The assistant thought to himself, "Is this really a small test? It's truly a very small test to inject the Empress mutation into the monsters around the level 2 gate." The rescue agent mixed thoughts about number 104. What a pity. That person truly has abilities, which is why they shouldn't have interfered in the game. The Red Demon created a potion that was directly injected into the mindless monsters, which quickly fell victim to the mutation potion, the noise echoing throughout the forest. Han De-sung quickly realized this. It seemed to come from the entrance of the level 2 gate. The CEO showed a contemptuous face. He would be even happier if he left. The mutation potions were gradually being injected into the monsters. The noise echoed throughout the forest. The monsters that were shot began to become more ferocious than ever, howling throughout the forest with just a cough. The ground and rocks around them began to rise from both sides, starting to attach to the bodies of the monsters, making them even more massive, as if they had an extra layer of armor. They transformed into swamp beasts with smoke-producing characteristics. After being upgraded to another level, the monsters could now breathe fire, realizing the mission was successful. The agent thought to himself that he had to leave quickly to report back. He would surely be rewarded handsomely. But just as he turned back, the mission warning sign exploded. For no reason, he realized this was a paralyzing agent. Knowing he had fallen into a trap, he cursed the CEO as a bastard. Right after being hit by the paralyzing agent, the agent began to cough uncontrollably. It seemed the monsters were very sensitive. They heard the noise and came towards the sound. The agent knew he had been targeted as he turned back. He knew this time he was doomed. The monster was right in front of someone's feet, and they had just stepped into the area where the incident occurred. Hain-sung felt like he had been walking in circles the whole time. His navigation device was no longer functioning either. Suddenly, he discovered a corpse. What kind of accident just happened? Seeing the body, which didn't resemble a contestant, Dasung thought that the organization didn't seem to know about this. Feeling the atmosphere around him, Dasung realized that something was holding him back right after that. Hundreds of pine cones fell from above towards Dasung. With his sharp reflexes, he quickly turned to defend himself even against the smallest objects. But when the pine cones were struck, Dasung realized they were not ordinary. They suddenly caught fire and then exploded with a loud bang. The explosive force was incredibly powerful. The blast surprised Dasung, leaving him no time to react. Analyzing it a bit, he noticed it was absorbing fire more akin to absorbing mana. However, he couldn't use the skill he had previously used against the brains. Because it was still recovering, using it was impossible and within that thing, specifically the aggressive monster. It showed no signs of waiting. Immediately, the monster launched another furious attack, causing hundreds of pine cones to fly once again looking like bullets. As they were shot towards Dasung, he controlled them with basic strikes, engaging in a contest of speed as he swiftly sliced through each pine cone. Realizing that this wouldn't work indefinitely, Dasung activated his leg joints and quickly charged forward, disregarding the rain of projectiles coming at him. Waiting like this was truly bothersome. Dasung decided to punch straight through it while the rain of pine cones continued to soar through the air. Dasung quickly passed through them and charged straight towards the statue hovering above. The monster seemed to sense that prey was approaching and was eager to fight on this side. Contestant 104 was also raising his fist high, his cold gaze and ready stance indicating he was prepared for battle. In appearance, it seemed a bit uneven, but with these two powers, a terrifying earthquake could erupt in the forest, but as Han Dasung charged in, his face slammed straight into the monster while his hands were still hanging. In front of him was a massive tree trunk that had been split in two, while Dasung was thrown back to another area where a contestant was extracting fresh intestines from the belly of a monster. Who would dare to do such a grotesque act but Jin Jun? He was trying to wipe out the monster with unnecessary steps, leaving the creature nothing but a dry corpse. Not only were its insides completely extracted, but the announcement system also declared that contestant number 14 had completed the task. The first floor provided coordinates to reach the second gate. Jin Cheol thought to himself that because of that bastard, he had spent more time than expected lost in contemplation when suddenly, Jin Cheol sensed something behind him. A strange item appeared hovering right behind him. Jin Cheol quickly snatched the suspicious item box. With a calculating gaze, he carefully opened it to find an emperor's vial, 2 special compasses, and a letter. Opening the letter and reading it carefully, Jin Cheol realized something. The letter was immediately incinerated right after the mission ended. Jin Cheol realized that Han Dasung, the one with the number 104, was still on the first floor, returning to the battle against the mutated monster. And after being deceived, Dasung felt a bit regretful, praising the monster for improving significantly. He didn't want to waste energy on this cunning creature anymore. This young man once again called upon his shadow minions, commanding them to devour everything and lead him to the second gate. The pine cones emitted were indeed the richest source of mana. Dasung utilized them for the shadow minions to absorb. Han Dasung's task was to ensure that the pine cones couldn't touch him, then incinerate them for the shadows to consume. Each mana-infused pine cone that burns away is the essential food supply at present. Han Dasung confidently believes he will return stronger than before. The group of phantoms, after consuming enough nutrients, received orders from their master and rushed towards the monster. They charged like moths to a flame, still holding half-eaten pine cones in their mouths. Gradually, they formed a thick, slimy mass. The monster sensed an enemy approaching and prepared to fight, but what it did not expect was it was battling something from hell. At that moment, the phantoms had formed a black object unleashing beams that struck the monster hovering above. They surged forward, taking the shape of hands holding the projectiles launched by the monster, blocking them. Hansung smirked disdainfully after the shockwave passed. The control room screen finally regained some signal, and everyone was eager to watch the journey of that talented contestant. Here it is. They could once again observe every move of number 104. Quickly zoom in on him. Is the screen really fixed? What is this cloud? Isn't the first floor supposed to be a tropical rainforest? Quiet down, one person commanded. Now the image of the ferocious monster truly appeared, leaving everyone astonished. They couldn't understand why this creature was here. What is that thing? How could something like that appear in the test? What is the examiner thinking by setting this up? From afar, the branch manager also recognized this as an invasive species. His expression was tense as Yang asked the director if this was all right. It looks like a mutated species. He inquired whether they should stop it. Is there any emergency defense unit near Dung? Lisa coughed and quickly ran to the manager. She whispered that they had confirmed the signal from number 104 and had sent someone there. He suggested stopping the test for number 104. The branch manager hesitated, but for the safety of the contestant, seemed to have no other choice. But just as he was about to make a decision, Ajiang exclaimed, "Wait, did he really defeat it?" Back to the battle, the phantoms received their orders and pounced on the monster with thousands of arms, dealing damage with the fire-infused pine cones as the monster took hits from all sides. Gradually, the layers of stone on the monster began to fall off as expected. An explosion occurred, creating a smoke cloud like a tornado in a section of the forest. Seeing the smoke was also a testament to the battle. The staff were all astonished while the manager observed, unable to determine the readings beyond the limits. He thought it was a technical error. Though still vague to him, number 104 was a monster beyond imagination. Ajiang still couldn't believe he had truly blown it away. Incredible, right? Another staff member rebutted, "What's so incredible about it?" In terms of results, this has nothing to do with the test at all, she meant. It seems Ajiang still hasn't grasped the situation. Open your eyes and see Jungjin Cheol will reach the second gate first, ignoring the two girls who were staring each other down. Lee Seo-ho still asked the manager, "Should we retract the order to send someone?" The manager believed it wasn't necessary. Just leave it and have them report back on the situation there. The manager thought it wasn't necessary, just leave it there, and while you're at it, tell them to report the situation there. On the side of contestant number 14, he is trying to find his way using a compass. Jin Cheol is quickly searching for the right path somewhere around here. Upon reaching a location, Jin Cheol suddenly slams to a stop. It seems he is getting closer to the gate. The smoke dissipating quickly means that the battle has also ended. But what does that have to do with him? He will arrive sooner. The compass is evidence that has been destroyed. Jin Yoan has a confident expression to see how you will handle this. On the battlefield where the fight broke out, a stream of blood is poured directly onto the body of the monster that has just been defeated. Dung is using hellish blood to water it. Summoning the Sirio army, the monster that seemed to be asleep is now revived by some strange power. The staff is still observing, confused about what he is doing. What is he planning to do? The mutated monster officially awakens. Seeing this, the staff is extremely surprised. It not only comes back to life, but is also stronger than ever. Dung tells it to hurry up, stop pretending, and move. When scolded, the monster becomes fearful and quickly bows down, begging for forgiveness from its master, Dung. Dung kicks it and the monster flies away like lightning. Jin Cheol has arrived, secretly mocking as expected. He thinks Dung will never be able to rank first. But while being complacent, an object rushes past like the wind overtaking Jin Cheol. Before he can be shocked, the object has already zoomed past him and surged ahead. Jin Cheol with messy hair does not understand what is happening. What is wrong with that guy? Outside the headquarters of the association, after hearing the cheers and exclamations from the staff inside the snail vehicle and its subordinates return after their scheme. By now, the snail vehicle is still confident in its own scheme to harm others. It thinks the fun must have ended. What welcomes the snail vehicle back is the sight of Jin Cheol, whose hair is a mess and his face is in a disheveled state, looking unbelievable with a dazed expression. This is the consequence. After taking a beating from Han De-sung, the snail vehicle realizes that Jin Cheol has failed to complete the mission. It silently curses him as a fool. The specific event happened a few minutes ago. Contestant 104 Han De-sung, after subduing another capable subordinate, is riding on its head while looking around because the monster in the forest knows the way very well. De-sung immediately recognizes that right ahead is a shortcut. He quickly takes the initiative to clear the path, ordering the rockhead to keep going straight. De-sung continues to summon the Fire King. The flames quickly engulf the torch. An entire stretch of forest is set ablaze. It turns out this is De-sung's quick way to clear the path while controlling the flames. De-sung orders the rockhead to stop standing still and to run quickly. So, both the master and the subordinate pass through the forest with the Fire King's flames still carrying out the mission. The control room witnesses the magnificent scene and wonders. Is number 104 using some kind of summoning technique? What the heck is that? What technique is he using that they have never heard of? A staff member starts to analyze, wondering if it's due to some light. Similar to psychic abilities, what he can do is feasible in today's era, so it's not surprising. The female staff member debates with Jiang, also yielding. Besides this test, he also has skills in making YouTube videos. He even filmed a sci-fi movie by himself. Why not take the opportunity to defeat Youngjong Cheol or Son Choi Jiang as well? Suddenly, someone slams their fist on the desk, creating a loud noise. Everyone seems very surprised and looks back at the source of the sound. Is there anyone else besides the snail car who is angry because their item just made a mistake? Everyone is quite astonished by that impulsive action of the snail car. Lee Seo Ho immediately intervenes, saying if he continues to behave like this here, then... But the snail car doesn't seem to care. All he feels now is anger. The loyal secretary quickly stops Lee Seo Ho, asking him not to come any closer. Realizing he might have been a bit rude, Seok Jun turns back and apologizes, saying he was just a bit too excited about an overly amazing performance. Anyway, Director Hwang Junyeol from afar looks quite satisfied, no matter how cunning he is. He didn't expect this to happen. Oh, he remembers Choi Hyun. It seems she is about to arrive too. Back at the test, Jin Cheol finds himself being overtaken and curses, "Damn it!" Right behind him, Choi is also quickly running over. When he turns around, she is already close behind. So now he runs with all his might, no longer daring to take it easy. Arriving at the second gate, this is a battlefield on a magnificent snowy mountain. The first floor is hot, the second floor is cold. Do they lack imagination severely? De-sung comments and turns back to praise his new subordinate. You did very well. Quickly, the subordinate retreats, realizing this is not a place for it to go. The system has appeared and congratulated contestant 104 for being the first to reach the second floor. De-sung asks the system if the others have not arrived yet. Now he can start. The system announces that based on the top 5 players, each will start at a different gate. Now it will reveal the requirements to complete this second floor. The system introduces the next terrain, conquer the snowy peak, and then sends best wishes. De-sung analyzes the terrain. He cannot measure that height accurately, but it must be over 5 kilometers high. Thus the journey begins. De-sung also starts in a pure form, even though he is just beginning. He already feels extremely troubled. As a promising character, the drones around De-sung are also numerous. If only these things weren't here. Here he can use that. The other members have also arrived, so the drones follow them down, looking down. De-sung thinks to himself, I heard that C and D rank people make money by doing labor. But even so, they have awakened, right? It turns out Jin Cheol is secretly cursing this test. Why does everyone have to start from different points? He thinks to himself that if this continues to irritate him, there will be no way out. He won't be able to vent his anger unless he takes out that bastard. Noticing someone approaching, Jin Cheol turns around. What is it this time? Zin Sang. How could he make it all the way here? He is hugging his frail body amidst this cold. His fingers can't even move. Is this the end? He sees the drone beside him. If it stays here, he can't act. So he comes up with a plan. He will deal with this pesky fly first. Jin Sang tries to slap his face to wake himself up. He doesn't want to think about his loved ones who are slowly dying. After receiving mental strength, the old man tries to push through, telling himself he isn't cold at all. But right after that, he is swept away by an avalanche, crying out for help in despair. Who caused it but Jin? What exactly is he doing here? Stop cursing, Jin, you bug! Just go die! Suddenly, the screen went dark again and the whole room fell into chaos. What was happening? The drones broadcasting live seemed inactive. It appeared that the entire video system had been interrupted. The distant vehicle didn't say anything more. It seemed he knew the reason for this. He thought to himself that it must be about to start. Don't let him down again. Jin is hanging on as the snowstorm intensifies and the other contestants are gradually arriving, so they just need to climb to the top right. One person thought it shouldn't be a problem. They were the strongest alliance. Before he could finish his sentence, he was kicked straight into the snow by the crazy guy. The teammate was also surprised by this incident. Since when did Jin Chil become such a giant? He tightly grasped the head of the poor contestant. He screamed madly, holding the head like a small animal. The emperor of the champion Aqua had a miraculous effect. He would kill anyone who dared to stand in his way. Over here! Choi Rang was quickly completing her part of the test. Just as she thought the connection of the measuring devices was too unstable. Realizing something was off, why were all the electronic devices suddenly malfunctioning like this? The drones were finally destroyed. Of course, this inadvertently played into Dasung's hands. It must be broken, which is good. Now he can easily get up there. Abandoning the ordinary journey, Dasung summoned the Dragon Slayer Night Valkyrie armor, allowing himself to fall freely into the snowstorm. Choi Rang felt something strange beside her. What is this giant aura wave? Not knowing the reason, a creature with giant wings flew high, which surprised her even more. It was number 104. Could he use aura to fly up? Choi Rang could only stare in disbelief. Dasung was still focused on using the armor to fly to the mountaintop, returning to the crazy Jin Chil. He was venting his anger with powerful punches. The innocent contestant had to take the full brunt of this monster's rage. So caught up in venting, when he looked back, Dasung had already flown high at some point. Jin Chil now realized he was cursing that bastard. Did you drink the emperor of those crazy birds? Happy returning to the main task, Jin Chil now ran like the wind. Weight number 104, Director Hwang Juniel-ung had become furious. He demanded to stop the test. He asked the branch manager wasn't the top priority, the safety of the contestants. Manager, please, Hwang Juniel-ung, just wait a little longer. They were trying to investigate quickly. A mocking laugh echoed those who were about to become hunters. Yet they didn't dare to take risks. He didn't believe they could become true hunters. The distant vehicle turned back. The manager didn't think so. Caught between two powerful forces, the branch manager could only echo a sound, unable to say anything. Director Hwang Juniel-ung suspected this was a trick you set up. Lee Seok-do neither denied nor accepted, only stating that isn't it better to let a weak hunter avoid becoming a true hunter? Why is it that you are too soft in teaching them, Mr. Hwang Juniel? Even the managers and staff see the intense battle and cannot intervene. Director Hwang Juniel is now so angry that the veins on his forehead are bulging. You should quickly retire, old man. At the test at the gate to the 3rd floor, someone was already standing there. Indeed, it was none other than Han Dasung. He was contemplating whether to end it all right then. So now he just needs to walk through gently. Below, Choi Rang is still fiercely climbing up. Even Jin Chil has to cling to the primitive way in the heart of the snowstorm. A contestant's arm forgotten has surfaced. It turns out to be Jin Sang. He struggled a lot to dig through the snow, enduring the bone-chilling cold. Jin Sang is crying. He has won again. He hasn't died yet, so he has won. The harsh reality is still too cold. Quickly go down below. The system notification reveals the requirements to complete the 3rd floor. Be careful while moving. Do not let the monsters attack. Defeat the monsters to earn points. You need 1,000 points to complete. Good luck. After passing the 2nd floor, Choi Rang is still breathing heavily from exhaustion. Here, darkness is completely enveloped. She must be cautious until she gets used to the dark. A voice rang out from behind. Hey, Choi Rang! It was the monster Jin Chil asking if she had seen the flying creature earlier. Choi Jung realized it was young Jin Chil. He still hasn't. Satisfied with his anger, he praised Choi Jung for being quicker than him. Luckily, she didn't bother to respond to this guy. Stop boasting and go your own way. Hearing that Jin Chil seemed even more irritated. Choi Jung's concern now was just a reminder to be careful, as she thought on the 1st and 2nd floors. Number 104 has always been the fastest, but on this 3rd floor, looking down at the aura meter, it was still malfunctioning. This made it impossible for her to know the danger behind her. Soon after she received a wound in her abdomen, it was Jin Chil. He had intended to eliminate number 104 first, but it was just her bad luck. Choi thought she could only curse this crazy bastard. The fireball technique was activated. Although the firepower was weak, it functioned like a missile. Han Dasung was the one who activated it to fight against the troublesome monsters on the 3rd floor. Quickly, he ordered the Fire King to take care of them. The Fire King immediately complied and acted, incinerating each monster. Han Dasung didn't need to exert any effort yet. He was still not satisfied. He thought the Fire King was taking too long just to defeat those trivial monsters. But when checking the score meter, it still hadn't increased. Realizing something was off, Dung looked around. For now, he would deal with any enemy he saw on the way. In the management control room, the branch received a notification that it still couldn't connect. The sly one thought to himself that mixing the coefficient of a hedgehog into Empoleon was a wise decision. Looking back at the director, he felt sorry for Hwang Juniel. Even if Choi Rang survives, she will either live a crippled life or live half-mad after being ambushed by Jin Cheol. Blood from Choi Rang was continuously flowing out. She angrily checked, "What the hell are you doing? This bastard Jin Cheol thinks he has to hide anything. He thinks she will be an easy target because she is just a weak little girl, but isn't that the aura shield? This bastard Jin is hanging around. What is there to hide? He thinks she will be easy to deal with just because she is a weak little girl, but isn't that the aura shield?" Immediately, Choi kicked straight into the face of that damn bastard. This counterattack sent Jin Cheol flying away, making him even angrier as he cursed Choi Young, calling her a bitch. Just as he was regaining his composure, Choi Young quickly ran away. Jin Cheol laughed mockingly, saying that Hwang Juniel had taught him how to play hide-and-seek. "Because you are too weak." Choi Young quickly hid in a corner to brace herself. Her injuries were too severe, and she was hastily using her healing abilities, needing to hurry because that guy was still around. But the creepy Jin Cheol was not easy to escape. He appeared like a ghost and found her. Choi had to fight back. She quickly grabbed her shirt and threw it at Jin Cheol, planning to kick him straight in the groin next. Hit in a sensitive spot, Jin Cheol screamed in pain, followed by a strong elbow strike to his face from Choi. Blinded by the shirt, Jin Cheol kept getting hit mercilessly. With his suspiciously large build, Jin Cheol staggered, trying to regain his balance, while Choi corrected him, saying her name was not that of a brat. She was Shin Choi, the Ace of Sun. Another direct punch to the stomach sent Jin Cheol reeling, blood spewing from his mouth. The force of the punch was so strong that Jin Cheol was knocked far away like a whirlwind, and then he lay sprawled out. With his stomach injured and blood oozing out, Choi thought to herself that she had heard people were becoming more disgusting and filthy than monsters, and now she believed it. The leader's words were completely accurate. Spitting out a mouthful of contempt, Choi Young hugged her wounds and left. Director Hwang Juniel thought to himself outside that he did not raise his child to be weak, while Daesung was still struggling with the scoring computer. "This thing is completely broken," he cursed, silently wondering what the hell those people were doing. Should he just go ask directly? Daesung left after taking down another group of monsters, but his score still didn't increase. Shin Choi wondered why she didn't see the other contestants. A certain entity flew towards her. It was Jin Cheol, as relentless as a starving ghost. He had quickly recovered and came to continue the fight, making Choi realize that this time it was not going to be good. Jin Cheol gritted his teeth and called out to Shin Choi. This time she decided to run away, panicking about what he had done. She was sure she had killed him, wasn't she? Before she could think it through, Choi was blocked by Jin Cheol right in front of her, causing her to fall hard to the ground. The monster Jin Cheol, after catching his prey, continuously punched her mercilessly. Poor Choi Young was beaten to the point of tears, blood streaming from her nose. Jin Cheol's veins bulged as he urged her to fight back, "You bitch." He would make her taste suffering before she died. A strong punch to Choi's stomach left her in pain, unable to utter a word as she begged him. Jin Cheol said maybe someone would hear and save her, but Choi Young still couldn't say anything. Jin Cheol laughed mockingly, saying that he had destroyed all communication devices and pretended to apologize. With a sudden jab to her eye, Jin Cheol unexpectedly lost his sight. Blood poured from his eyes, and he screamed, "That bitch." Choi Young was trying to get away. He would recover soon. She had to escape quickly. Indeed, that was the case. Jin Cheol's eyes were recovering very quickly. Choi Young was trying to muster her last bit of strength to move, but she couldn't move fast enough. The recovery speed of that monster. She was quickly caught again because her presence reduced his recovery rate by 2 times. Now she should just go die. Jin Cheol cursed her as he prepared to strike a shout, made him stop asking what the hell he was doing. Daesung witnessed that scene. He immediately asked Jin Cheol what the hell he was doing. Jin Cheol was delighted because number 104 had appeared right in front of him. He immediately changed his target and released Choi Rang. Jin Cheol laughed maniacally, greeting 104, who was also looking for him. He disappeared quickly, planning to use this technique against Daesung like he had with many others. Indeed, he appeared right behind Daesung, waiting for a moment when he wasn't paying attention to strike. But if it were that easy, he wouldn't be Daesung. He skillfully dodged Jin Cheol's sneaky punch, which missed in astonishment. Jin Cheol became even angrier, wondering how Dasung could approach Choi Rang and ask Han Ui if she was okay. It must hurt a lot, Han. Looking at how she was gradually recovering, could she be a healer? He thought to himself, turning back to the one who caused all this. Dasung gave him a sidelong glance, still not recognizing who was standing in front of him. Jin Cheol complimented Dasung, saying he seemed quite capable. Dasung turned back and asked him if he was the one responsible. Jin Cheol thought Dasung was asking about Choi Rang, saying that the bitch didn't know her identity, so he just taught her a lesson. He also mentioned that Dasung would soon be like her, so there was no need to worry. Dasung interrupted his thoughts, indicating he wasn't that concerned about others. Jin Cheol was the one who broke the scoring device, wasn't he? Jin Cheol finally understood. He didn't bother to answer. Instead, he summoned his power to assert that he had done it. Dasung looked back at the malfunctioning watch on his wrist and realized it was this guy who caused it. He claimed he had completely forgotten about the emergency protective ring because it was broken, so just accept it. Before he could finish speaking, his thick face was met with a punch that crushed his nose. Jin Cheol was knocked away once again in humiliation, unexpectedly ambushed like he had done to others. Jin Cheol held his face in pain. Damn it, Dasung was now truly angry for wasting too much of his time summoning the fire element. Jin Cheol didn't expect his opponent to be so formidable. The flames quickly rushed towards that grotesque figure. He still had confidence. How dare he use such trivial things to fight against him? But he was mistaken. His eyes widened in shock at the sight before him. Dasung was protected by the Demon King, the Phantom Fire King, and countless other mysterious figures. Dasung was furious. This bastard had really made him angry. In the control room, it was reported that the network for the second floor had been restored. The manager asked her, "What about the third floor?" "The network on the third floor is being replaced, so it will take about 30 more minutes." The manager ordered to send a security team to the second floor and guide them to the third floor. A Jiang quickly received the order. The snail was still calmly drinking tea, unaware of the situation. "Manager, relax a bit. Aren't they all candidates for hunters?" Director Huang Juniel was still worried watching the snake-venomous snail. The control room door quickly opened and staff entered to report to the manager that he received a call that someone had been killed and many others were injured on the second floor. Hearing that, the manager was stunned. What the snake-venomous snail also heard it and seemed very pleased because the plan was somewhat successful. Huang Juniel was equally worried. The news report had already covered this issue. The hot news had been more than an hour since the image transmission system at the Hunter test was interrupted. Chan Ho in the office recognized that it was where Dasung was testing. He immediately worried for his friend and had to go there first. Returning to the test was the heavy breathing of someone running with all their might. This time it was Jin Cheol, a demon. That name was not human. But not long after running, one of Jin Cheol's legs was chopped off, so he couldn't run anymore. The pain quickly surged, and Jin Cheol was agitated, his leg in one direction, his body in another. He then successfully landed on the unstable ground, and now there was no way to recover in time. Jin Cheol's face was pale, and he had only one chance left to recover. Dasung approached him, saying he heard that the bugs in hell would recover on their own when their bodies were severed just like him. Jin Cheol was terrified and screamed loudly just as the third floor's life support was reconnected. The control room quickly dispatched a security team, and the image on the screen made Cho's head spin. Du was completely taken aback. What was happening? He never thought the image of Jin Cheol kneeling and pleading would appear like that. It was a Jin Cheol who was desperately begging for mercy, asking to be spared this time. He had only one chance left to recover. Please spare him, Dasung thought, but it didn't sound very convincing. You only have one more chance, then you're done for. Were you planning to cut him in half to see if he could recover? Jin Cheol was terrified. If they cut him in half, the recovery power of the ghouls might not be enough. Dasung noticed the camera was on. Was it working? A thought flashed. If so, he would spare Jin Cheol if he answered his 3 questions honestly. Jin Cheol, hearing this, became alert. Really? Thank heaven for justice, Jin Cheol pointed the stick at this evil demon's head. But he would cut him in half if he dared to lie. Jin Cheol was so scared he couldn't dare to lie anymore. Dasung began by asking him if he was the one who caused the chaos at the exam hall. The ghouls started to feel anxious, along with Director Huang Jr. All the staff were waiting for the answer to the first question. Was Jin Cheol the one who caused the chaos at the exam hall? Caught red-handed, now Jin Cheol couldn't deny it. He stammered and couldn't say a word, that bastard. Desung, losing patience, looked at how he was answering and asked, "Should I cut you in half and ask after you have been reborn into two? It would be more fun to split two versions of you into four, right?" Hearing the threat, Jin Cheol couldn't stay silent anymore. He explained that it was all his fault, and it seemed Desung was very satisfied with that answer. Jin Cheol knew he was in deep trouble now, but as long as he could keep his life, that was fine. "Who ordered you?" Desung asked for the second question. Jin Cheol was terrified, but right now the most important thing was that he had to survive. He admitted he had received orders from the leader of the Red Ghost Gang to weaken the forces of other gangs. He was just following orders. Red Ghost Desung emphasized, and the control room was thrown into chaos again. "Is Dung Jin Cheol really speaking the truth, the leader of the Red Ghost Gang?" Lee Seok-do now. Lee Seok-do can deny it, but the earth is shaking, and he's furious at that damn bastard. He went back furious with that bastard assistant who was blaming him to save his own skin. "Quick, catch him!" A voice rang out, making him stop. The branch manager expressed that he would listen to his explanation at the Hunter Investigation Bureau. Damn it, how can he fix everything now? Seok-do began to think. Calm down. He told himself that he would stop by the Hunter Investigation Bureau at a more suitable time. Lee Seok-do bowed his head in submission. No one expected this. The Red Ghost Gang left quickly. Dung Jin Cheol, that bastard, dared to bite back at his master while Seok-do had painstakingly taught him all this time. He told himself he would chop him up. Jin Cheol would be turned into 100 pieces and fed to Seok-do's secretary. Seok-do immediately wondered if he really had to bow his head like that. Hearing this, Seok-do stopped. That fool if he uttered one wrong word in there. Then Hwang Juniel-ung would immediately send him to meet the heavens. And indeed, Director Hwang Juniel-ung was in a furious rage. The branch manager quickly thanked him for holding back for the association. Hwang Juniel-ung said he wasn't doing it for the association and then immediately left. He told himself he would deal with all this trash once and for all. The manager then sent security teams to end the test, activating the emergency protection team and evacuating the injured. But the survey was still ongoing inside. Dung Jin Cheol was scared, swallowing hard, unsure of what would happen next. Desung asked him if he could still be reborn a few more times, right? Jin Cheol knew this question was too tricky. He asked back, "What do you mean by that?" If he lied, he would be cut in half. Even if he said he only had one more chance to be reborn, he would still be cut in half. No matter how he answered, he would be butchered. The system was present at that moment. "Congratulations, Han Desung has secured first place in the official test. The test has ended. You did very well." Desung felt a bit uncomfortable. Why was it so sudden? On the contrary, Jin Cheol was very happy to escape disaster. "Congratulations, just as expected, you are indeed an excellent S-Rank hunter." Well, Desung wasn't really good at keeping promises. In the end, Jin Cheol was still cut in half in the chairman's office. The chairman of the association thought this was the first time he had seen a monster like this since the time of Lai. "Secretary Lai, this Han Desung, I want all the documents about him at all costs. I want to make him one of us." Hearing this, Secretary Lai began to take orders. At the entrance of the association, reporters had surrounded the entire house. Reporters had gathered in large numbers waiting for the contestants to come out. The staff was discussing the test which had been broadcasted from start to finish. "The Red Ghost Gang is really in trouble now. If they say that's just Jin Cheol's accusation, then what?" The system announced they were sorry to report that the criteria for passing had been changed due to some unfortunate events. The criteria for passing would be determined based on the order of crossing the first gate. They would broadcast the contestants who passed in ranking order. The criteria for passing the gate was the first floor. Isn't that too easy? What kind of major accident could it be? The screen displayed first place as Han Desung Class A license. Chan Ho, after receiving the news, quickly called Desung. He received information that his friend was in the waiting room for S-Rank hunters. "How did you end up there?" Han Desung had no idea either. Desung didn't know about this either. He is comfortably lying on the massage machine and enjoying a delicious coffee when the door suddenly opens. Chan Ho has arrived and is surprised by this grand scene. Desung said that he didn't know the chairman's secretary sent him here to rest. Chan Ho was surprised to hear that the chairman's association secretary was so impressive. They told him he was an A-class hunter with the potential to rank S. Chan Ho was even more shocked. Wow, is that really true? Now he will have enough money to build a house. Desung also seems very pleased with this result. Chan-ho reminded him that because of that potential, there is a commotion outside about their desire to join our association regarding the contract signing today. The appearance of a world-class level must mean they want to recruit us. The reporters on the first floor recognized someone was coming. Who is it? Is it someone from the association? They quickly rushed over like a storm. The person who appeared was completely illuminated by the flashing lights. It was Jin Sang. He shouted in joy that he had finally passed the hunter test. Congratulations, I am reporter Lee Chunsu from Song Seong newspaper. Hello, I am Seongju. What is your name? Seeing so many reporters surrounding him, Jin Sang took a chance and said his name was Desung. The crowd gasped when they heard it. Desung. Why is Han Desung here? A series of questions arose. Mr. Desung, can you elaborate on the incident inside? Please explain in detail about the fire you used on the first floor. A barrage of questions followed, and it seemed someone had noticed something strange. This guy is different from Han Desung, and he took the name Han Desung, rank 20. The remaining contestants were being escorted out by the security team in pain and unable to do much. They would rather go home to raise fish and grow vegetables. Not everyone has the ability to be a hunter. They secretly cursed that bastard Youngjin Cheol. The security team reported that they had searched all 3 floors but could not find Youngjin Cheol's body. So they received orders to start closing the gates. The security team wondered if that bastard could really survive and escape from here. The news reported on the most horrific accident, piling on unprecedented difficulties of the hunter test. The majority of the contestants were at Han Desung's house. His mother was packing and thinking that at least she should buy Desung a new outfit. He wears the same one every day. I wonder if there's a morning market today. The news commented on A-class hunters with unique skills. Experts believe Han Desung will reach the vacant 6th position of rank S. His mother was extremely surprised after hearing the news. She shouted loudly for Jisoo to check on Han. Jisoo, hearing her mother's frantic call, rushed out worriedly. What's wrong, Mom? Desung's mother was still in shock, unable to believe her eyes. The news was asking what was going on. She asked Jisoo, and now even Jisoo couldn't believe it. Oh my God, is my brother really an A-class hunter? That's amazing. After a tiring day of battling, Desung finally returned. He was welcomed by 2 bewildered and clueless faces. He asked the 2 of them, is something wrong? At the building of the Red Ghost Gang, the leader of Investigation Team 2, Kim CEO Soo, announced that all hunting activities related to the Red Ghost Gang have been banned. He informed that the hunters from this place would be dealt with according to government orders by expulsion from the association. Lee Seoju remained unafraid. The hunter of the 6 poisons had turned himself into a joke. Had he placed too much trust in himself? I would also doubt myself, but he didn't realize Youngjin Cheol. How could that bastard bring me down? CEO Soo thought to himself that he was the only one who could do that. CEO Soo announced, please follow them to the inspection office. He grinned maliciously. He slammed the table and stood up, saying that when dealing with tough matters, situations like this would arise. But he just pointed at me, that bastard Youngjin. And now he wants to drag me to the inspection office. The snail truck Captain Soo realized he couldn't say no to this guy. He had to use force. Could you please come with us? The snail truck isn't just any vehicle. He asked if you know how it works. Whether he could achieve what he has today or not, the second in command of the snail truck rose to the top after the mysterious death of the captain at the gate. There is enough evidence to show that his death is related to the snail truck.